The story begins inside a very tall corporate building, and in one of the offices, we see a tired-looking young man clicking away on his computer deep in thought. While at work, he ponders deeply about something strange that happened the day before and is pretty bothered because he has no idea what in the world it was or what it could have been. In a flashback, we get to see exactly what he's been thinking about. The previous night, he was having a light dinner when some kind of hologram popped up right in front of him out of nowhere. It startled him, but after staring at it for a few seconds, he realized that it was some kind of status window, which made him think that he was hallucinating or something. At first, he thought he was just seeing things, but even after a while, the status window didn't disappear, so his curiosity took over. On what appeared to be a shopping window, he noticed the option to purchase some canned tuna that cost 2 coins and clicked on it several times. However, nothing happened after multiple attempts, so it dawned on him that it didn't work because he didn't have any coins. Still puzzled by the whole thing, he also noticed another item in the options, which was a hammer for crushing zombie skulls. The weapon cost 5 coins. And it was a pretty strange thing to see since he had only ever seen a status window like it in Apocalypse webtoons. That's the idea that had popped up in his mind when it first happened, and even now in the office. That's exactly the same thing, making him unsettled. The protagonist finds it hard to believe, though, certain that he's not living in some kind of story from a novel. The mental argument goes on for him, making him wonder if he's starting to lose his mind from the exhaustion. Just then, Song is finally drawn out of his thoughts when his superior storms into the office yelling his name in annoyance. The furious man slams the door behind him and immediately starts beating the MC for spacing out yet again. At this point, Song is still in a daze, and it's only until the boss taps his hand that he finally regains consciousness completely. The man tells him to focus and immediately starts demanding answers for a job he passed to him the week before. Apparently, the MC didn't handle it properly, so now his boss is getting a call from the Hanbiel trading company. Just when it looks like the boss is about to go off like a bomb, Song explains that the Hanbiel trading company failed to prepare the documents properly, which required a re-examination to be conducted. Clearly, this isn't the first time the boss is behaving this way, because the MC doesn't look surprised at all. It turns out that this angry man has failed to get a promotion twice due to his own incompetence, and now he's here again, throwing another tantrum for everyone to see. As you can imagine, the man doesn't appreciate Song's tone, even though he didn't say anything wrong, so takes it personal, feeling that the MC is talking back to him rudely. Just when it looks like the situation is about to get out of hand, a lady calls out to the manager. The gorgeous woman offers him some kind of drink, telling him to calm down, and the moment he turns to look at her again, all the rage vanishes from his body. It's pretty obvious that he has a thing for this lady, Miss Song, so he immediately rushes over to her, assuring her that he's definitely going to let Song off the hook for her sake. All of a sudden, the manager starts to get all touchy with her, probably misinterpreting her intentions. He asks her out to dinner after work, suggesting that some grilled intestines and soju would be a nice meal to end the day. But the lady wasn't even thinking in that direction at all. She's starting to get visibly uncomfortable, especially since he says it would be a shame for her to go straight home when she's dressed so nicely. At this point, they're no longer on the same page, but she doesn't want to upset him, so she politely declines the invitation, explaining that she has other plans later. Thankfully, the manager doesn't get mad at her for it. He's just surprised, but since it can't be helped, he lets her off, suggesting that they grab a drink sometime later. The man leaves the office right after that, and the moment he's gone, both Song and Miss sigh in relief. Clearly, they're already used to the manager's annoying behavior, and while some still don't know how to handle it, others have obviously mastered the art. Knowing how much trouble he was able to face, the MC thanks her for helping him out, and she just smiles softly in response. Later that day, it's time for Song's break, but he's so tired already that he just wants to go home. At the moment, he's taking a smoke outside to relax and recalling the scene from earlier. He's not ready to go back into the office right now since his annoying manager Cho is still in there. As frustrating as the job is, Song remains aware that it's pretty difficult to get a new one these days. As such, he knows that he just has to endure it even if it's tough. After all, this is still one of the largest corporations around. While thinking about this, the thought of Miss crosses his mind, and he figures that it wouldn't be a bad idea to get her a coffee later. As if she read his mind, the lady in question suddenly pops up right beside him, acting surprised to see him there on the rooftop. Song, on the other hand, is actually surprised to see her, so he asks her what she came to do here, since he knows that she doesn't even smoke. In response, She just sighs first before admitting that she came up there just to get away from the manager. Apparently, a client disappeared without paying their bill, and now Cho is taking out his frustration on everyone in the office, finding fault with every single person in there. Miss Sion wasn't ready to be one of the scapegoats, so she snuck out before he could get to her desk. The MC is amused to hear this and simply commends her for making a good escape. At this point, the lady feels comfortable enough to start ranting about how the manager makes her feel. It turns out that he keeps asking to eat out with her when he's not even paying, but the most annoying part for her is how he subtly tries to touch her every chance he gets. Suddenly, she stops mid-rant and starts talking about how cold it is today, but Song can't relate because he actually thought that it was pretty cool for a summer day. However, she does agree with him because the temperature seems abnormal to her. So much so that she even has goosebumps right now despite wearing long sleeves. He's surprised when she suddenly rolls up her sleeves to show him, but then he just teases her for being really sensitive to the cold since he doesn't feel anything. The lady starts to get a little worked up when she sees that he doesn't believe her, so she takes out her phone to show him a video that would change his mind. Determined to prove her point, Son shoves her phone in his face and shows him a strange video of snow falling in Africa. As you already know, that's definitely not normal, so the MC isn't completely sure that it's real. He expresses his shock, and the lady agrees with him because it is indeed strange. At this point, Song believes that there's something seriously wrong going on, and while he's still saying this, Sion's phone starts buzzing from a new notification. They quickly check the phone and are surprised to see a cold wave advisory being announced. That doesn't make any sense because they're in the summer, and the MC begins to wonder if the meteorological agency got hacked or something. They're still trying to wrap their heads around the first message when a second emergency alert comes in. Apparently, the cold wave warning has been issued due to a rapid drop in temperature, so now, all civilians are being advised to prepare thoroughly for colds and other illnesses that could result from this sudden temperature drop. They both stare at the phone screen in bemusement, and because of how strange the whole thing is, they conclude that it has to be some kind of error. As far as Seong is concerned, it doesn't even make sense to joke about having a cold wave warning in the middle of June. However, while he's still trying to make this point, a tiny snowflake suddenly falls on his hand, and even Son starts to feel even colder in that moment. Puzzled by this, they both look up at the sky and are absolutely stunned to see that it's actually snowing already. It turns out that the cold wave is coming a lot faster than they could have imagined. It only takes a few hours for all the rooftops to be covered in snow. And even though it's been going on for a while now, the MC still can't wrap his head around the whole thing. He stands out on the balcony with a cup of hot coffee in hand as he struggles to make sense of the situation. It's literally snowing heavily in the summer, which makes no sense to him. It's almost as if the world has gone completely insane. Despite warning himself with a cigarette and some coffee, it's still absolutely freezing to him, and it's clearly colder than it was when Son was there with him. Looking down at the heaps of snow on the roads, he can already tell that the traffic this night would be on another level, so he figures that it would be wise to pack up and head home right away. With this in mind, Song makes his way to the elevator, but after trying to open the door for a while, nothing happens. Of course, this leaves him puzzled and wondering if the elevator is broken or something. He's still trying to figure out what's wrong when a freezing gust of wind hits him in a flash. The cold seeps into his body instantly, so he starts shivering even more. Now, he's even more desperate to get home quickly to go warm himself, so rather than wasting any more time at the elevator, he makes his way down the stairs. With everything going on now, he still can't help but feel very bothered about that strange status window that popped up in front of him the day before. He clearly needs answers, but right now, the most important thing is finding a way to deal with this strange cold weather. By the time he reaches the bottom floor, he notices that the elevator doors are closing, which means that someone just used it. Now, he's sure that it wasn't broken, but upon getting closer, he hears the machine opening and closing the doors rapidly, which makes him feel that someone might be holding the elevator door. That's what he thought at first, but it still doesn't make much sense because it's way too quiet. If someone was holding the door, then there would at least be some kind of noise around. At this point, the most logical explanation is an elevator malfunction, but our MC is about to witness some even more strange stuff. In the blink of an eye, all the lights go out and Seong is suddenly surrounded by pitch black darkness. Seeing that there's just been a blackout, our MC begins to get pretty nervous and a lot more desperate to get the hell out of the building. He knows that this is not a good situation, so he decides to forget about packing up. He makes up his mind to just leave, but then all of a sudden, he's startled by an ominous sound of metal scraping in the distance. Jin Song can barely see anything, and now there's a strange sound coming from the darkness, so he's really creeped out. His pupils dilate as he carefully makes his way to the dark office to get his stuff, and that's when he gets even more freaked out. The place is completely deserted, almost like everyone left already, which is pretty strange. He could have sworn that a few people were still in there when he went up to the roof, so the current situation makes him even more nervous. Besides that fact that there's no one else around, he's also very creeped out by the sudden darkness. As he slowly moves along the office, he notices how messy the place is, which is very unusual. It's as if everyone else fled in a hurry, so now, Jin Song is sure that there's a problem. Desperate to calm himself down, he calls out into the darkness, asking if anyone else is there. Of course, there's no response, and that's when that creepy metal scraping sound continues. Jin Song's adrenaline levels spike and he immediately gets into flight mode. Bro quickly takes his backpack and starts to make his way out of the building, knowing that he definitely needs to move as fast as he can. Just as he's about to make a run for it, he senses an ominous figure behind him. He can't see it yet, but there's a zombie-shaped shadow right behind him that's already sending chills running down his spine. Our boy doesn't even bother turning to look at it. He just shuffles ahead to increase his pace. He can clearly sense that there's something terrible lurking in the meeting room ahead, and he's not too keen on seeing it for himself, so he continues on his quest to escape, but then all of a sudden, he steps on something. Jin Song looks down to see the ID card he just stepped on, and it's covered in blood. He picks it up and sees that it belongs to one of his colleagues, Kim Hyun-sok. Of course, he's very puzzled as to why it's covered in blood and whose blood it even is. Seeing the trail of blood leaves the MC frozen in shock, wondering what on earth happened in the place. Curious for answers, he decides to quietly follow the trail till he gets to the window of the meeting room. There, he peeks through the blinds and is absolutely mortified when he sees one of his colleagues feasting on the other. They're both covered in blood, which overwhelms Jin Song a bit. The guy is too shaken to even move, and in that split second, the zombie senses his presence and makes eye contact with him. The moment they lock eyes, our boy finally snaps out of his trance, but it's too late because now, the blood-thirsty creature is completely focused on him. The zombie stands up, and in the blink of an eye, our boy finds himself standing face to face with the monster. He's extremely terrified now, but the shock keeps his feet tethered to the ground for a while. Thankfully, this quickly changes when the zombie attacks him. As soon as the creature charges at him, Jin Song turns on the jets and starts running for his life. At first, he didn't know exactly what was going on, but now that he's trying to escape death, it becomes pretty clear to him that this might actually be a real zombie. Bro realizes that he's not winning this race, so just as he enters the office, his eyes lock in one of the chairs. At this point, he decides to fight back by grabbing the office chair. With all the power he can muster, he lifts the chair and hurls it at the zombie. He's hopeful that this would at least slow the monster down, even if it doesn't kill it, and thankfully, it works. With the zombie now a little occupied with the pain, the MC slams the door before the zombie can get to him, and this seems to have bought him some time because the blood-thirsty monster bangs on the door for a few seconds before stopping. Eventually, the zombie decides to walk away, and when our guy realizes that it's no longer trying to get him, he decides to let his guard down by quietly sitting on the floor to rest for a bit. It's obvious that it was definitely a zombie just now, and this is further confirmed when his phone buzzes in his pocket. He takes it out to see the notification of an emergency alert. Apparently, there is an infection suspected to be a variant of the rabies virus spreading rapidly throughout downtown Seoul. All citizens are being advised to refrain from going outside as much as possible and wait indoors for instructions from the government. As you can imagine, the most baffling thing he picked out from the entire message was the fact that this is a rabies outbreak. He just holds his head in confusion and annoyance as he reads the message, because it sounds like a load of shit as far as he's concerned. I mean, you can't blame him for feeling this way. After what he just faced, he's definitely sure that this doesn't have anything to do with rabies. He's certain that it was definitely a zombie, and the fact that people think otherwise makes him wonder what on earth is really going on. Determined to find answers, he goes through the comment section and reads similar encounters from other people. One guy just saw an old man ramming his head into the wall, and another even got bit a while ago. Sadly, some clueless people on the chat seem to have been bit already, but they don't even know what's about to go down. Seeing all of these messages, Jin Song realizes that the chaos is everywhere, so he begins to wonder if all of this has something to do with that status window from yesterday. With this in mind, he tries to search for answers, but he doesn't find any information related to floating status windows. Clearly, that's a dead end, so he ponders on it, thinking of what to do next, but then all of a sudden, his phone screen gets scrambled. At first, he's confused, but then the whole page goes blank, confirming that the connection has been lost. Once again, he starts to panic because he has no idea what he's supposed to do now that there's no signal. Jin Song is overwhelmed and tired of the whole situation, and to make matters worse, the chilling weather is still an issue. The MC is feeling extremely cold, and he's afraid that he's going to freeze to death before the zombies find him if things continue at this rate. At first, he curled up on the floor for a while, hoping it would help warm him up, but that didn't work, so now he needs a new plan to ensure that he doesn't turn into an ice cube or worse. Right now, his priority is to hold out somehow until a rescue team arrives or something. His phone's battery is at 83%, so he's confident that it could last him 2 days at least if he conserves it well enough. With this in mind, he turns on his flashlight and musters enough courage to climb back up the stairs. Once he's on the upper floor, he scans the area with his torch, but he doesn't see anyone. There's no sign of life around, so he figures that this is a good place to lay low for some time. Our boy already knows that he's going to be stuck in this place for the next couple hours or even days, and if that's the case, then he's going to need something to eat. He desperately wishes there were snacks somewhere in the office, or even some clothes he could use to warm himself up, and just like that, the search begins. He rummages through all the drawers he can access, and he's lucky enough to find a long-sleeve shirt tucked away in one of them. Now that he's gotten some better clothes, the next thing on his agenda is food, so the search continues, and after a while, he is delighted to discover a bag with food, water, and even a blanket in it. It's almost like it was placed there for him, and even though he doesn't know who the owner is, he's deeply grateful to them. Now that he's sorted those two problems out, he goes to the next thing on the list, which is a means of protection. He needs something to use as a weapon in case the zombies come for him, so starts looking and is once again lucky enough to find a golf bag with several clubs in it. Jin Song grins widely when he finds it in the closet because he never imagined that his annoying managing director would ever be of help to him. Our boy retrieves all the stuff he found and wraps himself in the blanket. Of course, he's relieved to have gotten them now, but he's not sure if it's going to be enough to help him survive the next 3 days. It's clear that the real problem is whether the rescue team can even arrive by then. He looks out the window as the snowstorm rages on and begins to worry again. The roads are completely overrun by hordes of zombies, and this blizzard is so bad that it won't be easy for a helicopter to come for a rescue. Right now, Jin Song is afraid that a week might even pass without anyone coming to save him. To make matters worse for him, it's getting even colder despite covering himself up with the blanket. He's shivering seriously, and it's only a matter of time before he chips his teeth with the way they're smashing against each other. Bro brings up the status window again and stares longingly at the page with the winter clothes there. He's desperate for them, but he can't afford it, and he has no idea how he can even get coins. His situation is looking pretty bleak right now, and he's truly afraid that he might not make it, so he just sits there in silence. Jin Song sits in the stairway waiting for help, but just when he thinks he's about to get a little peace, he hears footsteps approaching. Without any hesitation, he shoots up from the floor and grabs one of the golf clubs, determined to protect himself no matter what. He braces himself for what's to come, and all of a sudden, the footsteps become a lot louder and faster, as if the zombie is charging at him. The door bursts open in a flash and our boy takes a mighty swing, but just when he's about to land the hit, he realizes that it wasn't actually a zombie, it's his colleague. The guy introduces himself as Kim Ju, Manager Choi's replacement from the sales department, and the MC immediately recognizes him. He's heard about how annoying the guy is, but right now is not the time you get into that. The two get back to hiding and Kim tells Jin Song where he's been. The guy was in the break room when he suddenly heard loud banging on the door from outside, so he quickly locked the door from the inside early enough. Hearing this, Jin Song is curious as to how he got out and made it to this point without being taken down by the zombies. In response, the guy admits that he just burst through the door and ran through all the zombies in his path till he got to the emergency exit. At this point, our boy can tell that this guy is just trying to brag about his strength because nothing he's said so far has been useful. As if being useless isn't enough, Kim is now also about to be a liability because he suddenly starts complaining about hunger, asking Jin Song if he has any food. The food he has is barely enough for him, so he doesn't have any plans to share it with this annoying guy. He bluntly tells Kim that he doesn't have any food, but the guy doesn't believe him at first. Even though the MC isn't going to share his emergency rations, he doesn't mind giving the guy some water. I mean, he's not completely heartless. Anyway, he takes out the can of water and hands it to Kim, who thanks him for it. At this point, you'd think the guy would just take the water and be grateful, but that's not the case. All of a sudden, Kim grabs Jin Song's arm very firmly, and with a twisted look in his eyes, he asks our guy once again if he really doesn't have any food. Now, the MC can clearly see that there's something strange going on with Kim, so he knows that he has to be very careful. While getting the water, Jin Song notes something unsettling about the guy. At first, he thought that Kim was sweating because he had been running, but the guy has been dripping with sweat the whole time, even though it's freezing. Our boy feels that he might just be feeling too paranoid, but just as the thought crosses his mind, Kim suddenly lunges at him like a madman. Thankfully, he's quick enough to notice it, so slams him in the face with the water flask. He disorients Kim with the hit, lands a powerful kick to the side and sends him crashing into the wall. At this point, Jin Song has his golf club in hand, ready to strike because he's clearly facing a zombie now. Kim was fine just a moment ago, but now, the guy is foaming at the mouth and growling at him with crazy eyes. As much as our boy hates to have to do this, he also knows that he doesn't have much of a choice. If he doesn't take out this zombie, his own life will be in danger, so without any hesitation, he buries the golf club in the zombie's head. This is no longer his colleague Kim. It's now a bloodthirsty zombie ready to infect him, so he can't let that happen. Jin Song pummels the zombie until the whole place is covered in blood. He lands repeated blows to the head till it stops moving. At this point, it's clearly dead, so he can finally take a breather. The MC takes a moment to catch his breath, and then all of a sudden, he sees a status window appear right in front of him. It's a notification confirming that he just earned 1 coin. As you can imagine, he's taken aback by this because he has no idea what the hell is going on. After pondering over it for a while, it finally starts to make sense to him. The only place he's seen anything about coins was on the shopping window. So, he pulls up the shop to confirm, and sure enough, he sees several items that can be purchased with coins. Right now, he has 1 coin, so he can't really afford anything since most of the items cost more than that, including the winter clothes he so desperately needs. Seeing all of this, Jin Song begins to understand what exactly is going on. He realizes that he's probably going to get 1 coin each time he deals with a zombie, and frankly, that's quite disappointing to him. He literally just risked his life to fight and survive that, so he's pretty pissed that all he got was 1 coin. It's a really tough system, as he can already tell, and just thinking about it exhausts him. Jin Song simply falls to his knees, thinking about what his fate is, and that's when he spots something intriguing on the zombie. The MC notices the throbbing bite mark on the decreased Kim's arm and just sighs as the reality dawns on him. Kim probably got bit while trying to run through the zombies in the building, and he clearly didn't even know he had been bit. Our guy can't blame the guy for not even knowing, since he looked completely fine when they first met. It's really crazy that one can already be infected and have no idea. So with this in mind, Jin Song decides that he can't trust anyone by their appearance moving forward. The MC makes his way back to one of the offices to have a smoke and relax a little. While he's at it, he can't help but notice how good this cigarette he found earlier is. He remembers finding it when he was rummaging around the building for useful stuff, and he's really glad he did, because it's the only small comfort he has in this crappy situation. After some time, Jin Song figures that he should probably start moving back to his hiding spot soon if he doesn't find any other useful stuff. Just as he's thinking about this, a loud screech disrupts his thoughts. So he looks out the window to see what's going on outside, and that's when he sees the sea of zombies flooding the streets. There are only a few people who haven't been infected yet, but with the hordes swarming them, it's only a matter of time. Some of them try to fight back with weapons and whatever they can get their hands on, while others just succumb and accept their fate. Sadly, in a situation like this, there's really no use fighting, and the last man standing learns this the hard way. The zombies devour him in a flash, and all that's left of him is a bloody corpse. Well, that's before his transformation begins. Our guy watches the horrific scenes down there from the building, and he's truly shaken by it. It's so disturbing to him, but more importantly, it makes him understand just how screwed he is. As if the endless waves of zombies aren't enough, the snowstorm refuses to end as well. The blizzard rages on throughout the night, and our exhausted protagonist decides to just lie down and hope for the best. By the 3rd day, there's still no sign of any rescue team coming to save him, and it's not getting any warmer either. On top of that, his phone battery is now at 3%, which means that he's about to be really hopeless in a while. From the look on his face, you can tell that he doesn't really have high hopes anymore. All he has left with him now is 1 bag of snacks and 4 chocolate bars. As you can imagine, the last 3 days have been really frustrating for him. He spent most of his time just staring out the window to conserve as much energy as possible. During that time, he saw several people attempting to escape from the zombies, and of course, every single one of them turned into a zombie in the end. Seeing such things can really kill a man's hope, and some might even lose the will to fight or keep living. However, that's not the case for our hero. Despite seeing how the efforts of others ended in futility, Jin Song has come to the conclusion that he has to get moving. As far as he's concerned, there's really nothing else he can do if he wants to live. Sure, it's safer inside the building, but staying here like this will only bring him closer to death with each passing day. He decides that he can't keep hiding in one spot staring out the window till death comes for him, so first, he intends to find some trustworthy survivors within the building. Jin Song still believes that there are others like him and that his best shot is finding them. So, with the little energy left in him, he clears out the barricade in front of the office door, prepared to finally walk out. The MC is definitely afraid, but he knows that this is what he has to do. He must find the others and combine forces with them to get out of this building. For now, his main objective is the 6th floor. This is where he wants to begin his search, and to do that, he needs to check if the entrance is blocked like Kim-ju Man said it was. For the first time in days, Jin Song opens the door to walk out, and the moment he does it, something shocking happens. All of a sudden, the power is restored and all the light bulbs come back on. As soon as he sees this, he doesn't even waste a second before running back into the office window to check if it's still snowing. Sadly, when he gets there, he's disappointed to see that the blizzard is still very much there. He looks out and sees that all the other buildings don't have any power. It's still very dark outside, but the lights in the building are on, so this can only mean one thing. Jin Song got his hopes for a second there, but the lights inside are still on, which means that someone must have turned on the emergency generator. The last time he checked, zombies aren't exactly cut out for stuff like that, so he is convinced that there's another survivor in the building. This is exactly what he's been praying for, and now he has a chance to join forces with someone else, so he dashes out of the room to begin his search. The MC takes all the stuff he needs with him and makes his way to the stairs once again. He knows that he needs to be quick about this little mission, because the lights could go out at any moment, and he wouldn't want to be in the zombies' territory when that happens. With this in mind, he resolves to find the others before the lights go out and makes his way down the stairs. Jin Song believes that the survivor is likely located in either the management office or the security office, since those guys are the ones with access to the generators. The thing is, both of those offices are on the 1st floor, so he'd have to go down a couple stairs, but it's a relief for him. On the way down, he notices that something is going on with his shoes. As much as it's keeping his feet warm, he knows that he can't risk attracting the zombies with the noise, so he takes off his shoes and continues the journey in socks. Our guy is determined to make it out alive, and he no longer cares what it's going to take in order to achieve this. Soon, he arrives on the 6th floor. Right now, he's pressed for time and needs to find the other survivor before the backup generator fails, but he also needs to check if the emergency exit is truly blocked. So, Jin Song takes a quick stop on the 6th floor to check for it. Our boy stealthily moves around there and eventually gets to the exit, and just like Kim said, it's blocked indeed. Now that he's done with that, he needs to get back to finding the other survivors in the building. That's the most urgent thing right now, so the emergency exit can wait for now since he's confirmed that it's blocked. Not long after that little detour, the MC finally reaches the 1st floor, and upon getting there, he notices that everything still seems normal. It doesn't look like the zombies from outside have been able to break in yet, and that's a good sign. However, considering the usual foot traffic in the lobby, there's a high chance that zombies are roaming about. He listens carefully, but doesn't hear any noise, so he attempts to open the door and is relieved to see that it's not locked. Jin Song opens the door slightly to take a peek, and sure enough, he finds numerous signs to confirm the zombies' presence. There are blood stains all over the place, and he even sees a few of the undead patrolling the area. On looking closer some more, he sees many others roaming about like it's some twisted Halloween party. He's astounded by how many there are and starts to feel that this might even be the entire horde of zombies. Just as he expected, it's practically impossible to escape the building at the moment. There are just way too many zombies in the way. Still, he's glad that the zombies from outside haven't gotten in yet, because that would just make the situation a lot worse for him. Sadly, with the way things are going, it's only a matter of time before those front doors come down. The multitude of zombies outside seem to be looking for a way in, and if the population goes any higher, then they'll definitely break in. As such, he knows that he just has to move fast, so that's exactly what he does. He runs past the lobby when all the zombies aren't looking and successfully reaches the management office. On getting there, he's once again met with a sad discovery. He looks into the office only to find a frozen man. He clearly froze to death due to the cold, and Jin is heartbroken when he sees this, because this man was the one who greeted him every morning. Sadly, now he's gone. Jin had always heard how people who die from hypothermia paradoxically remove their clothes, but he never thought he'd see it for himself. There's nothing he can do to help the deceased man now, so all he can do is pay his last respects. He covers the man's eyes shut and prays for him to rest in peace. There's no point staying here and risking getting caught by the zombies. The generators are also likely to fail at any moment, so Jin gets a move on. He hurries down to the other parts of the first floor in search of the other survivors. Clearly, nobody in the maintenance room survived this apparent Ice Age apocalypse, so the only place left to check is the security office. The MC arrives in front of the door and just stands there, desperately hoping that he finds a living person in there. As much as he wants to meet with the other survivors, he's also afraid of how they might react to his sudden appearance. Jin fears that they might have set up traps to prepare for intruders, just like how he would set up a barricade if he was in their position. With this in mind, the MC figures that the only way to avoid getting attacked is to let them know that he's not a zombie or a hostile beforehand. The best way to do that right now is to avoid startling them by making any sudden noises. Unfortunately, that's going to be very difficult because any sound he makes right now will probably attract the zombies. Speaking of zombies, some of them are coming his way for some reason. They mindlessly stagger in his direction, making him a lot more nervous. He needs to think fast if he wants to survive this, because these creatures aren't exactly easy to defeat. He knows this all too well, since he's spent the last 3 days watching them devour civilians like him who tried to be brave. They might have terrible eyesight, but their sense of hearing is extremely sharp, so he has to be very careful. Our guy starts knocking on the door as quietly as he can, hoping that the survivor in there would recognize that he's human and let him in. But that might not work. And on top of that, the low knocking sounds seem to be attracting the zombies to him. Jin starts sweating a lot and eventually decides to take the risk. He can't wait for those inside to open the door anymore, because he's literally a sitting duck out here. Now, he's made his presence known, so he musters all the courage he can to open the door, hoping that he doesn't get attacked by those inside. So, he slowly reaches for the door and opens it as quietly as he can, but he's suddenly met with a big shock when he does this. Jin Song sighs nervously after knocking a few times on the door. Right now, he's not sure what to expect, but he's hoping that everything will be fine if he just opens the door carefully. With this in mind, he slowly opens the door, and in the blink of an eye, he's met with a surprise attack. Apparently, the person inside has been waiting for him to make a move. The man tries to hit the main character with a stick, but our guy is quick enough to block the attack with his golf club. On one hand, he just managed to avoid taking a blow to the face, but on the other hand, the noise created by the impact is so loud that it draws the attention of the zombies lurking around. At this point, both Jin and the other survivor are nervous and terrified because they know just how sensitive the creatures are to sound. Right now, they have only a few seconds to decide what their next move is if they don't want to become zombie food. So, in that split second, the survivor decides not to throw Jin under the bus. Rather than pushing him back out for the monsters to devour, the man drags our guy into the room and locks the door behind him. All of this happens so fast that Jin Song gets pretty confused for a second. After locking the door, the man turns to the MC with an inquisitive look in his eyes. For a few seconds, neither of them say anything. They just stare at each other with their guards up, mentally prepared for anything that happens. Jin finally interrupts the heated staring contest by asking the man with the stick if he's still human, which he confirms before asking the MC the same question. Our protagonist reveals that he's also human, but the other guy doesn't seem to be convinced yet. He still doesn't believe Jin, and you can't blame him for being this skeptical. Seeing this, Jin tries to explain and make the guy understand that they're on the same side. He reveals that he came all this way since the emergency generator suddenly came on because he thought that there might be another survivor. He attempts to go closer, but the N refuses to let his guard down. At this point, Song finally introduces himself as the assistant manager from Sales Team 2, hoping that this would ring a bell. He even shows the man his ID card as proof, but deep down, he's not even sure he can trust the guy. Sure, he's finally found another survivor, but what if the man is infected just like Kim Joo-man? Anyway, after seeing the ID card, the other guy calms down a little and equally introduces himself. Apparently, this is Choi Jae-sung, the development team assistant manager. At the moment, Choi is still covering himself with a big blanket, which is most likely because of the cold weather, but Song can't help but find this suspicious. If Choi wanted to, he could easily hide his own zombie bite by covering it with the blanket. Sure, this is a possibility, but the MC also notices that Choi isn't sweating like Kim Joo-man was. In fact, he looks cold. The man looks pretty chill and well-fed, which makes Song wonder if the guy stopped by the break room at some point, especially since there's a full bag pack sitting in the corner. All those who were infected by the zombies showed an abnormal level of hunger. So, the fact that Choi has enough reason to control himself means that he actually isn't infected. With this in mind, Jin Song concludes that this guy is safe to be around, so he lowers his golf club and attempts to talk to the man. But of course, that's not exactly going to be easy since Choi still doesn't trust him enough for that. He tries to move closer, but the man uses his stick to create some distance between them. Apparently, Choi noticed him looking at the bag and thinks that Jim Seong is trying to steal it. Choi Sung points the stick at our guy while shielding his bag, and Jin realizes that he might have made things worse. Obviously, he wasn't interested in the bag, but Choi is way too paranoid to realize this, so now, the MC needs to figure out a way to fix this. Things could get really bad from here if he doesn't lighten the mood right now. He can't make Choi trust him completely in a heartbeat, but the easiest way to show that he isn't a threat is to put his weapon away, so he slowly returns the gold club to the bag, hoping that would work. He lifts his hands in surrender, thinking this would calm Choi down, but the man keeps staring at him with the same look in his eyes. At this point, our guy isn't sure what to try anymore, because he actually thought this move would be enough. Just then, an idea pops up in his mind. Whenever things got difficult at work, they used to smoke together to take the edge off, and knowing how stressed out Choi must be after being cooked up in here for days, he contemplates offering the guy a cigarette. With this in mind, he slowly reaches into his pocket to get it out, and of course, Choi finds this very suspicious. The guy watches his movements closely, ready to swing the stick if Song tries anything funny. Thankfully, it doesn't get to that because the MC suddenly reveals the pack of cigarettes in his hand and stretches it out for Choi to take, asking if he'd like a smoke. As you can imagine, the man is still pretty reluctant to let his guard down, but the offer is just way too tempting for him to pass up, so he eventually lowers his stick. Just like that, the atmosphere becomes less tense as Choi calms down and asks if he can have one of the cigarettes. A few moments later, we see that the two young men are now looking like they weren't ready to pummel one another before. From the look on Choi's face, you can tell that he really needed that smoke. He moans in delight, admitting that he finally feels alive again, while Song just laughs in response, because he knows the feeling. Song admits that he knows exactly how Choi feels, and claims that this is one of the few comforts they have in this crazy situation they've found themselves. He makes this confession, but Choi doesn't say anything, which leads to an awkward silence for a few seconds. At this point, our guy starts to feel pretty nervous and then admits that the reason cigarettes are his comfort is because he's only eaten half a chocolate bar all this whole. Hearing this, Choi decides to loosen up a bit and share some of his food with our guy. Choi suddenly starts opening his bag, and Song is stunned when he takes a peek. The bag is really full, which makes him conclude that Choi must have gotten that much from the break room. As far as he's concerned, that's the only explanation, and while he's still pondering on it, Choi brings out a pack of raw noodles. He breaks it in two and gives one piece to our protagonist. Of course, in their current situation, there's really no other choice but to eat whatever is available, so Song gladly takes the noodles from him and starts munching on it. He thanks Choi and becomes really curious about something. Choi said that he was from the development team, so the fact that he got here means that he probably cleared out all the food on the entire second floor. In response, the guy in glasses confirms this, explaining that it's no longer necessary to put food in refrigerators, and our guy completely agrees with him. These two new friends enjoy their uncooked food together, and after some time, Jin Song asks Choi what the situation is like on the second floor. Sadly, the guy reveals that it's not good at all. At first, Choi was trapped in the break room with a colleague. Back then, it was just the two of them, so they split the food in two to manage their resources. However, the other guy kept insisting that they had to keep moving. Choi didn't think that was a good idea and suggested that it would be wiser to wait for a rescue team to come get them. Despite his attempts to make his colleague wait there with him, the guy eventually had enough and decided to leave without him. As you can imagine, the impatient guy was infected as soon as he went out, and just like that, Choi was left all by himself. After hearing this story, the MC suggests that there are probably quite a few zombies on the second floor since he passed there on his way down, and Choi confirms this, claiming that he counted at least 4 of the undead himself. Clearly, Choi also has no choice but to come out since his battery was about to die completely. As such, he was forced to come across the bloodthirsty zombies on his way down, and this makes our guy wonder how he got out without being infected. In response, Choi reveals that he drew their attention by throwing something in the opposite direction. So, whenever they were distracted, he simply took the opportunity to crawl out of their reach. Song is quite impressed with the story, admitting how amazing it is that he escaped safely from 4 zombies. Choi just laughs nervously as he thanks our guy for the compliment. Judging by everything he just heard, Song is convinced that Choi was the one who turned on the emergency generator, so he asks just to be sure, and the assistant manager confirms his guess. The MC looks over at the power strip in the corner with several chargers plugged in and figures that it's the reason Choi risked his life to go turn on the generator. Clearly, the guy had to charge his devices so he wouldn't get stranded, but Song is a little confused because he doesn't really think there's a point. Hearing this, Choi is shocked because he can't believe that Song has been surviving without using the internet. At this point, our boy is even more surprised because he had no idea that there was even any signal in the building all this while. Hearing this, the assistant manager informs him that satellite internet is actually available. This response leaves our guy astounded, and that's when Choi asks him if he knows about Spacelink. Sure enough, Song is familiar with this name, so Choi tells him that they still have access to the internet because of it. Of course, there aren't many usable servers left since the zombies took over, but there are a few communities that they can still connect to. Well, our boy didn't have any idea about this, so it's taking him a while to process all the information. It's a good thing he met Choi then. Anyway, Mr. Glasses goes on to reveal that the charger is currently plugged in a fast on, which means that it should be done very soon. That being said, he offers to help our guy charge his phone afterward if he has one on him. Time goes by and sure enough, Choi helps Song plug in his phone. Just like the assistant manager said, the internet is still working and our MC is even able to access his social media account, where he comes across several others who haven't been infected. This whole thing is like a breakthrough for him, so he genuinely thanks Choi for everything. The guy charged his phone, connected him to the Spacelink internet, and even told him about the community, so he is really glad. Of course, Choi is pretty modest about it, claiming that it's nothing. Not long after that, they notice the lights above them flickering, and Song immediately suggests that the emergency generator is about to run out of power. Of course, this is really tragic news for Choi, even though he already knew that it was going to happen eventually. Things are about to get a lot more difficult for them, which makes him wonder what Song plans to do in this situation. Before our guy can even say anything, Choi makes his intentions very clear, stating that he will be staying right in the room. The assistant manager doesn't have any intention of leaving the room, and stating this, Song just stares at him with a disappointed look on his face. Clearly, Choi only said this just now because he wants Song to leave. The guy suddenly starts reaching for his wooden stick again, like he's preparing to attack our guy if an argument breaks out. Song doesn't seem to notice this though, but he understands why the assistant manager would want him to leave. The MC knows that he's probably just a burden considering Choi's current disposition. The assistant manager's strategy is obviously to hold out for as long as possible in the safest location, so he truly has no need for a companion who would just consume more of his food while waiting around. Song also doesn't consider Choi a good companion in this situation because they have conflicting ideas. As far as the MC is concerned, he needs to keep exploring in order to find a way out, and this means that Choi would only be an obstacle. As such, he believes that it's only right for them to part ways here and now. After considering all of these factors, our guy finally informs Choi that he will be leaving instead. Of course, Mr. Glasses over here doesn't have any problems with this. In fact, he's even relieved to hear it. Without any hesitation, he goes over to his bag to take out a flashlight and a small power bank. Apparently, he has about 2 more of these to spare, so he doesn't mind giving them to Song as a parting gift. He presents them to our boy, proving that he's not all self-centered, and of course, Song is really grateful for the gift. He thanks the assistant manager sincerely because he knows how incredible these items will be in a situation without any electricity. Grateful for Choi's generosity, our guy decides to return the favor, so he takes out a few sticks from his pack of cigarettes and gives them to the guy as well. Of course, Choi really appreciates it, so he thanks Song as well, and the 2 survivors finally part ways. Our guy makes his way to the door and Choi wishes him luck. Before stepping out, the MC turns to the guy, hoping that they get to see each other alive again. Song exits the room after that, and as soon as he's outside, he's overwhelmed by the horde of zombies flooding the area. Right now, He knows that he has to hurry because the electricity will be cut off soon, leaving him stuck in the dark with the undead creatures. To avoid this, he needs to get the hell out of here. Thankfully, the door is still holding up so he can escape very quickly. Song contemplates his next course of action. If he goes down to the basement, he can easily access his company car in the parking lot. There's a chance he can escape with it, but at the same time, he's not even sure that leaving the building right now is the correct choice. At the moment, he's starting to reconsider his idea, feeling that the time to escape the company building will come eventually, so there's no need to rush. A part of him knows that leaving the company right now could turn out to be a rash decision, so, for the meantime, he feels that it is wiser to go back up and get all the information he can from the company. That way, he'll be more equipped with everything he needs to enable him to escape safely. With this in mind, our guy starts marching up the stairs with his bloody golf club in hand. He's only a few steps in when everything goes dark all of a sudden. He curses in frustration when this happens because it means that the emergency generator finally ran out of power. Thankfully, he still has a flashlight, so rather than freaking out, he's able to stay calm. Song uses the light to navigate his way up the stairs as carefully as he can because there's a good chance the zombies moved when he was downstairs. By being extremely careful and quiet, Song is able to reach the 4th, 5th, and then the 6th floor without being attacked by the zombies. Now, he just needs to move a little higher to reach his destination, but then all of a sudden, he hears a noise coming from the floor above. He's certain that someone is on the upper floor and fears that it's most likely a zombie. Despite being absolutely terrified right now, the MC knows that there's really no turning back at this point. He has no choice but to keep going, so he tightens his grip on the golf club and braces himself for what is to come, confident that he'll break through no matter what. A few seconds later, we see that our determined hero has hung the flashlight in the railing to enable him go face the zombie with both of his hands free. He slowly goes up with his trusty golf club in hand and, quietly closing in on the monster as he prepares to knock it out. By the time he gets close enough, he is finally able to see the zombie fully, and is even relieved that it's also facing the rooftop. With the creature turning its back to him, this means that he'll be able to sneak up on it from behind, so he's even more motivated to use this opportunity before it's too late. Determined to take out the zombie, he moves even closer, waiting for the perfect opening to strike, but things take a huge twist when the zombie senses him. Just like that, the monster's neck turns 360 degrees to look at him, and in that moment, he already knows that he is cooked. The monster growls at him as it foams from the mouth, and before our guy can even think of anything, the vicious zombie lunges at him from up the stairs. At this point, you'd think Song would definitely get infected because of how close he is, but he somehow manages to land a devastating blow to the zombie's head with his golf stick, and the force from the hit is so powerful that it sends the monster slamming into the wall. Of course, just one hit isn't going to be enough to take out a monster this vicious, so the creature gets right back up, even more pissed this time around. The zombie screeches at him in rage and once again, charges at him, so he repeats the same moves a second time. Song knows that this is a matter of life or death, so despite being absolutely terrified, he musters all the courage and strength he can to fight off the zombie. He lands several powerful blows on the monster, desperate to kill it for good. But just as he's hoping that the fight is all over, he sees the creature getting back up. He sees that zombie still moving after everything, and he's already tired of landing hits, but he doesn't have a choice. So, he just hits the zombie some more, begging it to just die, and then he finally kills it. Our guy is sure that it's dead when the familiar blue window pops up in front of him, informing him that he has acquired 1 coin. The shopping window appears right after that, showing him all the stuff that he can purchase now that he has 2 coins. The MC stares at the window in a daze with his bent and bloody golf club still in hand. He's irritated by the twisted system showing him a shopping menu when he literally almost died a few seconds ago, so he angrily waves the window away. But then again, he keeps his frustration aside and decides to be more rational about it. Looking at the stuff on the menu, he realizes that the coins might be useful for something else, so he decides to just take them for now. Song accepts his reward and starts packing up his stuff. While he's at it, he can't help but wonder where this particular zombie actually came from. From what he can see, the rooftop is closed, so it couldn't have come from there, and this makes him wonder if it came from another floor instead. He starts racking his brain about all this, so he starts to think that the 7th floor might not be safe either. Despite feeling this way, he decides to go up there anyway and quickly enters the empty office room there. He shuts the door behind him and sighs in relief, feeling that he should be safe. He takes out his water can to have a drink, and then the memory of the zombie he faced earlier flashes across his mind. He is still hung up on how fast it was. At that speed, he feels that the zombie is probably even faster than when it was still a normal person. As far as he's concerned, it might even be on the level of a wild animal now that it's this lethal. Song is truly shaken by the experience he faced, and he's even afraid that he would probably have been the one who died if there were two zombies. With this fear now dwelling in his mind, he figures that he needs to find companions to move with. If he can't do that, then he'll have to create situations where it's always a one-on-one with the zombies. Anything other than that might not end well for him, and he knows this. After quenching his thirst, he suddenly remembers that he should probably check the internet now that he's back upstairs. He feels that there might be more information on the zombies online. Song quickly gets back on the Spacelink internet and starts surfing the web for anything related to the zombies, but he just finds stuff about the weather. One guy is really astounded by the temperature outside because it was minus 27 degrees Celsius when he measured it. Another person from Gangwon province also had a crazy experience with the temperature, claiming that the water froze when he left the tap running. You'd think the last one would be useful information, but it's just still another message from someone talking about how their relatives got infected by a zombie. After scrolling for a while, Song simply gives up because there's really no useful info about the zombies. So, he goes over what he already knows about them. The creatures are sensitive to sound and have somewhat poor sight and smell. They also keep moving until their head is destroyed. And the most obvious fact, if you're bitten by a zombie, then you become one as well. These things online are all stuff he already knew before now, and it's mostly just survivors crying out for rescue on the servers. As annoying as the situation is, it's actually helped him to confirm one thing, which is the fact that the government has now completely collapsed. It's now very obvious that no one is coming to save them, and so now, the harsh reality dawns on him. Song finally accepts the fact that he has to survive on his own, by himself in this godforsaken world. The thought runs through his mind just as the harsh cold seeps deeper into his body, causing him to cough violently. Of course, that's never a good sign. Soon, it's day 5 of survival and our guy is literally shaking like a leaf. The cold seems to have really gotten to him now, because he's covering himself in a blanket, but still shivering tremendously. For some reason, he still thinks that he hasn't caught a cold yet. Bro claims that he can't let that happen when he's clearly sick already. I mean, you can't blame him for not wanting to accept that he's sick. After all, in this situation, a cold practically means death. Song is determined to stay healthy, so he motivates himself to move his body in order to generate some heat. This might turn out to be a bad idea since he'll probably need to replenish the lost energy afterward. Anyway, our guy proceeds to do some jumping jacks to generate heat, and of course, it doesn't take long for his belly to start growling. He's clearly very hungry now and tired too, so he goes straight to one of his chocolate bars. Normally, he would have eaten only half, but right now, his body needs the calories, so he throws conservation out the window and eats the whole thing. After eating, Song takes off his shoes, feeling pretty irritated by the cold. He probably thought his body would have adapted to the temperature by now, but after 5 days of this Ice Age apocalypse, he is now sure that he can never get used to this cold. As such, he decides that it's time to go light, feeling that it would just be cumbersome to move with his shoes on. He drops them on the desk, feeling that leaving them there would be better since it makes less noise. Once that's out of the way, he realizes that he needs to find proper food before things get worse. To do this, he'll need to leave the office for his search. According to Assistant Manager Choi's information, half of the food from the break room should still be there, so now, his mission is to make it there alive and find it. He needs to get to the development team floor and find the bag of Choi's colleague who turned into a zombie. The only problem with this little mission now is the fact that there are probably more than 4 zombies in that area, waiting for their next human victim. This makes things very difficult for him because it's going to be almost impossible to snatch the bag from the zombified colleague without the other undead creatures noticing. The only way to get the bag back now is to take the zombies out one by one. With this in mind, our boy goes into assassin mode. He scans the area to locate all the zombies. The first one is in the Development Team 1 office. There's another in Development Team 2 as well, and then one in the New Business Team office. There should be at least 4 on this floor, but he's only seen 3, which makes him wonder where the last one is. He's confused right now, so he tries to recall what he saw the last time he passed here. There were no bodies on the path from the break room to the emergency exit before. But now, there's one more somewhere he doesn't even know. This makes things a bit complicated, so he decides that the first course of action is to deal with all the zombies he's found. Using his flashlight, he keeps looking around and eventually finds another one in one of the supply rooms. He checks another room and is delighted to see that the non-food supplies are still there, but his quiet celebration is suddenly interrupted when he hears the low growl of a zombie coming his way. Song quickly hides to avoid getting spotted, but he also marks the zombie's location. And so, now that he's gotten all his targets, it's time for him to begin the hunt. To set the plan in motion, he hurls a cup across the room to get the zombie's attention, knowing that the mindless creature would run in that direction. Sure enough, when the undead monster dashes toward the noise, Song emerges from the shadows with his golf club and takes a big swing at the zombie's head. The bloodthirsty monster doesn't see him on time, and by the time it realizes that it just got played, it's already too late. The MC buries the golf club in the zombie's head, killing it with a single strike, but the noise attracts the others nearby, and they don't hesitate to come after him. Thankfully, our guy sees them coming from the other room early enough so before they can get to him, he slams the door and locks them outside. Seeing the crazy zombies screaming outside the door, the MC feels so proud of himself because his little scheme worked just as he planned. He smiles with the flashlight tightly held in his teeth, feeling pretty confident. Right now, his hopes of taking them all out are looking alive, but just when he thinks he's winning, a zombie grabs his leg out of nowhere. The moment he feels the hand firmly grip his ankle, he turns around in shock. He looks down at the zombie growling at him, and of course, this leaves him very petrified because being this close to one of them is literally a death sentence. The zombie widens its jaws to do what they do best, and Song's adrenaline level spikes in the blink of an eye. The flashlight falls from his mouth in his panic, but thankfully, he is able to avoid getting bit. Before the monster can get him, he forcefully stomps on its head. He slams it and proceeds to hammer it with the gold club until there's blood everywhere and the zombie stops moving. As you can imagine, even after killing the zombie, he's still overwhelmed by what just happened. It was a very terrifying experience for sure, but it's still not over yet because there are still 2 other zombies waiting outside the door for him. Well, at least they can't get to him now, so he calmly picks up his flashlight from the pool of zombie blood. Now, he's already attracted 2 of them to him, so he resolves to finish this before any more zombies are drawn by the noise. Determined to come out of this alive, he puts the flashlight back in his mouth and charges right out the door. He opens the door and immediately throws a spoon across the office to distract them. Of course, this works pretty well since one of the 2 mindlessly runs toward the noise. The other one is a bit more suspicious about the situation, so it just stands there looking baffled, and this allows our boy to strike. Meanwhile, the other zombie that went after the spoon appears to have a backpack on, and it's probably the one Song is looking for. Our boy attacks the first one and goes after the second one with his golf club like a gladiator. The zombie tries to run away, but of course, the MC is way too locked in to let it escape. He goes after the undead creature with murderous intent, and a few seconds later, we see his golf club bent beyond recognition. The metal stick is completely deformed and covered in zombie blood at this point. The final confirmation that he killed the 2 creatures is the sudden message that pops up, revealing that he just acquired 4 coins. After the crazy ambush he just laid on the zombies, he uses his flashlight to see the bag properly. He almost died while taking them on, but it wasn't for nothing because now he's finally gotten the bag of food he came for. He inspects the dead zombie with the backpack, and that's when he sees how deformed his golf club is now. Looking at it, he can immediately see that he won't be able to use it anymore. It's time to let it go. Song quickly unstraps the backpack and takes it off the zombie corpse. He puts on the bag and is delighted by how heavy it is because that just means there's a lot of food in there. Before leaving, it dawns on him that he no longer has a weapon to protect himself. Going back down to other floors without a weapon would be pretty risky, but he doesn't have a choice, so he figures that it's better to just move quickly. But then again, now that he's cleared this area, he thinks that it might not be a bad idea to search the place some more for something that could be useful to him. Since he's still there, he decides to take a look around. Assistant Manager Choi said that his colleague hid in the break room, which means that the 2 of them probably didn't get a chance to search anywhere else while they were on this floor. Well, our boy has managed to make the place safer for exploring, so that's exactly what he does. He looks around the place, and it doesn't take him long to find some interesting stuff. He finds a pretty good haul, and he's impressed. Just from the desks in Development Team 1, he found a power bank and even nutritional supplements, so he's feeling really lucky. Things are looking really good right now, so he feels that it would be good to also search Development Team 2 as well. On his way there, he suddenly hears something that catches his attention. It definitely sounds like a zombie, so he begins to panic since he doesn't have a weapon on him anymore. This might turn into a big problem for him if he's not careful, so he quietly jogs in the opposite direction. If he runs into the zombie right now, then he'll be done for, so he decides to go back. There's no point risking his life in search of another good haul. A few moments later, we see that Song has found somewhere safe to check out what's in the bag. It's pretty safe now, so he's finally starting to calm down. He laughs in excitement as he hugs the bag tightly. He never imagined that he'd end up feeling safe at the office, especially in a situation like this. After being all ceremonial about his find, he finally decides to open up the bag to see what exactly he brought back from the zombie. Song takes out 3 bags of chips, along with 2 boxes of choco pies. There's a ton of cookies and 5 cup ramens. He also finds a can of cola inside, which takes his excitement to another level. In this Ice Age apocalypse, what he's got in his hands right now is practically a treasure. With his conservative skills, this should be enough for at least a month. As long as water is available with these supplies, Song believes that he can survive for a month without much trouble. Our guy leans back with a look of satisfaction on his face, convinced that this stash was definitely worth risking his life for. Unfortunately, just when he's finally about to feel good for the first time in days, the familiar chills rush back into his body. He starts shivering all over again now that the excitement has died down. His socks are soaked in blood and sweat, which means that his wet feet are making it even colder for him. He doesn't even know how to handle his current predicament. He feels like he should wash up a little to get the blood off. So he takes off his socks and starts washing his feet with ice water. Of course, the moment the water touches his feet, the cold shocks him. It's way too cold and he can't even believe that he's doing this. He never imagined that he would be washing his feet with ice water in his life. After washing off most of the blood, he suddenly comes across something horrifying. It's a wound, and for some reason, it resembles a bite mark way too much. He's shocked because he doesn't remember getting injured during his encounter with the zombies earlier. Song's eyes widen in horror as he thinks back to the time the zombie grabbed his legs. He's starting to think that he might have gotten scratched by it then, because he's certain that he didn't get bitten. From what he knows about these undead creatures, he definitely has to be bitten to become a zombie. He takes out his phone to confirm what he saw online, and sure enough, he comes across the post from a person who was scratched and wasn't infected even after several days. The MC is so excited when he reads this message because it means that he's still safe. The guy is so relieved now because it definitely wouldn't have been easy to deal with the fact that he'll soon be turned into a zombie. Now, he's done washing his feet, so he goes to dry them with his blanket. After cleaning his legs, he can finally see how serious the wound is. Once again, his legs start shivering from the cold and he begins to get worried. At this rate, he's afraid that this wound will lead to frostbite. On top of that, his toes are exposed, and if that continues, he'll be in some serious trouble. He knows that he needs to warm his foot up somehow, so he finally decides to visit that strange shop that's been popping up. He opens the shopping window in search of something to help him get warm, and like always, he's reminded of his balance. The floating window informs him that he possesses 6 coins now and shows him all the necessary items he can purchase with them. He vividly remembers seeing winter clothes on the shopping window, so he immediately starts scrolling to find them. It doesn't take too long for him to get there. Thankfully, they're still there, and they also seem affordable. The winter jacket and pants would set him back 3 of his coins. The winter boots just next to them cost 3 coins as well. This is also the same price for the winter gloves and the winter hat. Everything on this page costs 3 coins each, which makes things pretty dicey for him. He obviously can't afford all of them, so he'll have to choose carefully and get the items he needs the most. He curses in frustration when he sees these prices, claiming that the creator of the system must be really cheap to sell these items separately. I mean, they're all supposed to come as a package, so you can't blame him for being pissed. Besides that, the pricing doesn't even make any sense to him because boots, gloves, and a hat are all smaller than the clothes. As far as he's concerned, they should not cost the same number of coins. He grumbles about the situation for a while but quickly reminds himself that complaining won't change anything. He needs to make a choice right away, so he does just that. Song clicks on the winter boots since that's the most pressing item right now. Without them, his toes would probably be falling off in a few days. Our guy is taken aback when the big winter boots suddenly appear right in front of him in a flash. He finds it strange that the shoes really appeared because it's almost like magic. He holds them up to confirm that they're actually real, and he's even more surprised by the fact that they're his size. He was actually worried that the boots might be too big or too small for him, but somehow, they're just the perfect fit for him. He's still trying them on at this point, and the whole thing just makes him wonder if this means that everything he buys on the shopping window will come out customized for him. After wearing the comfy winter boots, Hit feet are feeling a lot better, but he knows that it's not enough. Sure, he's saved his toes and feet from the frostbite now, but he's still shaking like a leaf. Song doesn't think the boots will be enough to save him from the cold, so he goes back to the shopping window to look for anything else that can be of help. Determined to heal his wound, fight the cold, and also manage his coins, this stranded office worker scrolls endlessly through the shopping window in search of the perfect item. Sadly, after searching for a while, he still doesn't find what he's looking for, and this leaves him a little frustrated. Just when it looks like he's not going to have any luck, his eyes widen all of a sudden. His gaze locks in on a particular item that we can't see yet. It seems to be that he's finally found what he's been searching for, because he does even think twice before clicking the button to buy it. He purchases this mystery item in a flash, and 1 coin is deducted from his balance. Well, we still can't see what Song just acquired, but what we do know is that it's definitely something useful. Remember that mystery item that Song purchased without a second thought? Well, it turned out to be a hot pack for the wounds on his feet. The MC quickly takes it out of the wrapper and starts massaging his feet with it. Right now, he feels more alive than he's been in the past 5 days. Well, it actually makes a lot of sense, since this is pretty much the most relief he's felt since the apocalypse started. Sure, buying a single hot pack with 1 precious coin was pretty expensive, but this young man doesn't mind at all. He rubs the hot pack all over his feet, and the soothing feeling pretty much intoxicates him for a second. The hot pack wasn't cheap, but it was definitely worth it for him, because he finally feels like he can live in these unbearable conditions. Soon it's day 7 of survival in this Ice Age apocalypse, and tragedy strikes. Song goes to the sink to get some water and is absolutely horrified when not even a single drop comes out of the faucet. As you can imagine, this is a very terrible discovery for him, and he almost doesn't believe it at first. He quickly comes to terms with reality though, since he actually saw it coming. It was really just a matter of time, and now, in the end, the water has finally been cut off. Thankfully, he's not exactly stranded now, because he made preparations for this very calamity. Song was smart enough to keep his water supply full just in case this happened. Bro filled several water cans, but there's only so much water he can store. Despite his best efforts, he was only able to gather about 2 liters of water, which is definitely underwhelming for someone in his situation. Well, our guy knows this too and already has an idea of what he's going to face. The water he stored is only going to be enough for 3 to 4 days at best. Anything more than that would mean that he'd probably have to turn himself into a camel overnight somehow. Just when he started to feel alive in this icy prison, this kind of shit happens. As you can imagine, he's pretty frustrated by the situation, but he can't do much to change it. So he just lies back down on the desk, wondering why this is happening to him. Song takes out his phone to check the servers, hoping to see some good news at least. On the server, a couple other survivors are still communicating with one another. One brave fellow confirms that there are some zombies on the 1st floor, but still wants to go check out the supermarket across the street regardless. The man takes a frying pan with him as he makes his way out to the street. For some reason, he thinks 1 metal pan is enough to fight off the zombies. Anyway, he completes his preparation and updates the others on the servers, informing them as soon as he sets out. Song is one of the anonymous members of the chat, so he asks him if he's really going, so the guy confirms this once again, promising to post again if he survives this dangerous mission. Seeing this, the others just wish him good luck, knowing just how risky it is. Song remains on the desk after reading all the messages on the chat. Bro looks like he's about to give up any second now, and you can't really blame him. He's probably feeling discouraged after seeing that the number of posts is gradually decreasing. Since he joined the server, the number of messages have dropped quite a lot, so he fears that most of the survivors he met on there are probably now dead. It's a really harsh reality, but he knows that he just has to face it because he can barely see any signs of survivors out the window anymore. Before, he'd at least see a few civilians running around in attempts to evade the zombies, but now, all he can see are the mindless creatures roaming the streets. At this rate, he's afraid that he'll be the last human in the city in a couple of days. This thought lingers in his mind, but at the same time, he forces himself to be positive. Song refuses to think about the worst of his situation, feeling that there might just be many survivors like him in places that he doesn't know about. After all, Nobody on the outside knew that he'd been trapped in the company building until he joined the server using the Spacelink internet. The next day, which is the 8th day of him being stuck in this Ice Age apocalypse, Song checks his phone again for updates. He finds 7 new notifications on the server, so he reads through all of them. The anonymous member from the previous day, who was talking to the brave guy, is starting to freak out now. It's been a day since the man set out to go to the supermarket, but he still hasn't posted anything, so it's starting to look like he didn't make it. The zombies probably got him, so when Song sees these messages, he finds it very difficult to remain positive. He had a little hope that the man would actually survive, but the mission proved as difficult as he thought. And now, he's completely certain that there's no way to survive out on the streets. Sure, he still has food and water that can last a couple more days, but he knows that he can't just wait here like this. When the time comes to leave this place, going out alone would mean death, so once again, he makes up his mind to go out and find another survivor. Our guy knows that he needs to get an ally as soon as possible, no matter what it takes. However, there's one glaring problem with this plan, which is the fact that our guy still doesn't have a weapon. He needs a good one if he's going to start wandering around the company building. Song looks over at the golf bag he found several days ago and quickly confirms that there's only one decent golf club left in it. He takes it out to have a look, and after inspecting it, he realizes that it's less durable than he thought. It might look pretty solid now, but it becomes useless after taking down 3 or 4 zombies. Obviously, there's a very good chance that he'll come across way more zombies than that if he truly sets out on his mission again. This means that he'll need something more durable to protect himself with if he wants to survive. And so, he opens that shopping window earlier to see what might be of use to him there. The first weapon he sees is the hammer for crushing zombie skulls. It looks pretty cool, with a spiked end that's pretty menacing, but there's one major problem with this weapon, which is the fact that it's too expensive for our guy. Right now, Song can't afford the hammer because it costs 5 coins to get and he's already down to his last 2. After taking a good look at the weapon again, our guy admits that it actually looks really good. However, this doesn't make him think it's worth it. With 5 coins, Song knows that he can easily buy winter clothes and still have enough to get another hot pack. At the moment, these other things are looking a lot more valuable to him, so he's really not interested in buying the weapon in a hurry. After all, he still has a golf club that could hold up for a while. With this in mind, he sets out on his stealthy mission. First plan on the agenda is to check out the other floors and see what he can scavenge. So, with his flashlight in one hand and the golf stick in the other, Song quietly moves down to the other floors, and it doesn't take too long for him to discover something really disturbing. He enters one of the dark offices and is instantly taken aback when he finds fresh blood stains on the desk. He goes over to investigate, feeling very confused because there's no one around. He's been seeing these blood stains for a while now, but this one especially caught his attention. Our guy goes closer, hoping to find answers because even the smell is really disturbing. It smells just like the zombies, but it doesn't make any sense because he can't find any bodies around. By the time he scans the office with his flashlight, he realizes that the place is truly a mess with blood stains everywhere. This sends chills down his spine as he wonders what on earth happened there. He tries to open the adjoining door leading to another room but immediately realizes that it's locked. This leaves him even more perplexed because now he begins to wonder if someone is hiding inside the room. He leans closer to check if he'll hear any noise coming from inside, but that's not the case. He can't hear anything, and so, after a brief pause, he decides to break in. Before bursting in, though, he makes it very clear that he's going in. Song breaks down the door and, of course, he's met by a new shocking discovery. The entire room is filled with bloody corpses piled on top of each other. He's taken aback by the sight, but bravely goes in to investigate some more. Looking at the heap of dead zombies, he can tell that there has to be at least 10 of them lying here. It's chilling to be in here with so many dead zombies, but he forces himself to focus. He came here in search of useful items, so he quickly goes to one of the drawers to rummage. Even while he's at it, he can't help but wonder what the hell happened in there. He's bewildered that someone was able to kill these many zombies, and he can only wonder who in the world could have done it. The fact that a monster like this person has been in the company is truly mind-blowing for him, and all he can think about is how good it would be to have them on his side. As far as he's concerned, he wouldn't have to worry about a thing if this zombie slayer became his ally. After check in the cupboards, he doesn't find anything useful, so he prepares to get out of the room. He wouldn't want to be caught off guard by the other active zombies. Song remembers seeing signs that the other offices were searched too, so he feels that this place might already have been swept by whoever killed the zombies. He begins to panic a little when this thought crosses his mind, because if that's truly this case, then this whole place has most likely been cleared out already. As such, he just gives up on searching, convinced that there's no way anything useful would be left in there for him. He sighs in defeat, feeling that all his efforts were simply futile. Sure enough, there's really nothing in any of the compartments, and this just leaves him wondering one thing. Who was it to have taken things so thoroughly? He finds it hard to believe that only one person could have done this, so he feels that it could even have been several others. And so, he begins to wonder if they're even still in the building after seeing how they cleared out the whole place. While still looking around, Song-jin, Soyoung suddenly stumbles upon something that really catches his attention. He notices a piece of paper sticking out from under one of the coffee machines on the table, so he immediately takes it out to see what's in there. That's when he realizes that it's a note from another survivor. In the letter, the person claims that they're glad to know a fellow human made it to the 4th floor. They also apologize for taking everything on the floor that could be used as food. They then advise Song not to waste his time or energy checking the break room, since they've already searched all the drawers. They also tell him not to bother opening the managing director's office since they've piled up the zombie corpses there. Clearly, this note was written by the person who cleared the floor and slaughtered all those zombies, but that's not the only information that was left in the letter. Song continues to read the paper and gets to the part where the person reveals that they left a shirt in the cabinet for whoever finds it. They also recommended that he avoid going to the 5th floor if he can. Apparently, this person intends to leave the city and head toward the west coast because it seems to be a good place to guard against zombies. After all, there are a couple islands over there. The writer left at exactly 10 am on the 8th day since the zombie attack, which Song is pretty horrified to see because it was the day before. He curses in frustration, feeling that he could have met the person if he had just moved one day earlier. At the end of the letter, the writer finally reveals their identity. He's assistant manager upon Hyuk, Jae from the accounting team, and he ends the note by wishing Song good luck, hoping to see the reader of his letter again one day. Song is pretty familiar with Hyuk, Jae because they were colleagues from the same year. From what the MC remembers, the guy always used to brag about being in the special forces, so now, after seeing how he wiped out a wave of zombies, our boy finally agrees it was a well-deserved bragging right. Song gathers the papers and suddenly realizes that there's something on the back as well. It's a short note revealing that Hyuk Jae left a gift in the drawer for any office worker who might come by. As you can imagine, our guy is pretty excited when he sees this, so he instantly rushes to the drawer in question where he finds a briefcase. He opens it up with so much excitement, but all he finds is a bunch of coffee mix. Apparently, Hyuk Jae thought this would be funny, but the MC isn't exactly feeling the joke right now. Soon, it's day 10 of the apocalypse and our guy is back to surviving on the remaining chocolate bars he has. Out of boredom, he finds himself reading Hyuk Jae's note over and over. He's particularly curious about the part where the guy told him to avoid going to the 5th floor. It makes him curious and suspicious at the same time. He keeps wondering why he shouldn't go up there when he knows that the 5th floor is the president's office. Logically thinking, it doesn't even seem likely that there would be many zombies there since it's so high up. As curious as he is right now, he still knows that Yoon Hyuk Jae isn't the kind of person to give a warning without reason. He finally finishes his chocolate bar just as the thought crosses his mind. He's been really bothered by what was in the note, but even more importantly, he hasn't seen a single survivor outside since the previous day. It's pretty troubling as it's starting to look like there aren't any normal humans left out there. Right now, he's starting to feel pretty hopeless because as time passes, the chances of meeting a survivor and potential ally keeps decreasing. He still regrets missing one the previous day, so he's not willing to waste another chance. With this in mind, he decides to finally get off his butt to search the other floors. He's determined to find someone this time around, but he's a little overwhelmed just thinking about how many floors he might have to check it before he actually finds someone. The thought lingers in his mind for a while, but he is suddenly drawn out of his thoughts when a bright light shines in his eyes. He's really puzzled when he sees this because he didn't think that anyone would still be out there. He quickly snaps out of the shock though, because he realizes that this is someone sending him a signal, and so he starts waving like a maniac to get their attention. Our guy gets so excited when he realizes that there's actually someone out there who's not yet a zombie, and then when he takes a closer look, he sees that the man in the other building is holding a piece of paper up. The person is obviously trying to tell him something, but they're too far away from each other for him to see what's written on the paper. Just when it seems like he won't be able to communicate with the person, a bright idea suddenly pops into his mind. Song quickly takes out his phone to take a picture of the paper, and once that's done, he zooms right in, hoping that he'll finally be able to read it. Thankfully, his plan works and he can finally see what the guy was trying to tell him. Apparently, it's saying that there are people on the 6th and 7th floors in the company building. Also, the man has people in his own building and wants to team up. This is exactly what our guy has been desperately hoping for, so seeing this message right now is like a dream come true for him. He had almost lost hope, but now, hearing that there were other survivors all this time, he gets really excited. Now, he needs to go straight into action. For the meantime, he can leave the people in the other building, hoping that they can handle themselves. His priority right now is to find the person on the 6th floor, so he grabs his gold club and springs into action. Our guy sets off on his mission to get to the 6th floor, but is taken aback when he discovers that the entrance is blocked. He doesn't understand why this is the case, so he starts to wonder if the other survivor saw the message and decided to clear out the place. Either way, he makes his way down to the 6th floor, and upon entry, he calmly makes his presence known, revealing that he's from the 7th floor. He announces that he's an employee at Taezong Trading and all of that. He's still trying to assure them that he has no hostile intentions when he accidentally kicks something. Song quickly uses the light to check what it is and notices how the place looks kinda weird. Something feels off, so now he's wondering if another guest arrived before him. The MC is pretty puzzled at the moment because he's not sure what is going on, but he gets answers very quickly when a zombie sneaks up behind him and attacks. The terrifying creature charges at him with blistering speed, but he somehow manages to turn around in time to defend himself. Song uses his golf stick to block the zombie charging at him, and it shoves him down to the ground in the process. Now, with his back touching the floor, our guy knows that this is a life or death situation, so he fights with everything he's got. First, he creates some space by kicking the zombie in the gut. This gives him the chance to get back on his feet, so this time, he doesn't hesitate to unleash his own attack on the zombie. Song charges at the monster and takes it out pretty quickly with his golf club. A few seconds later, our guy is standing above the brutalized zombie with sweat dripping down his face. He's managed to take out the monster, but he's not done yet, so to finish the job, he lifts one of the metal tables and smashes the zombie with it. Song mercilessly squashes the zombie's head, leaving a bloody mess in the floor, and it's at this point that the kill is finally confirmed because the mysterious window pops up once again to inform him that he just acquired another coin. The MC finds this pretty amusing because with the way the windows keep appearing, it's starting to feel more like a death notification at this point. As much as he'd like to dwell on that, he has more pressing issues on his hands. There was supposed to be another survivor on this floor, so now that he's dealt with the zombie that attacked him, he goes back to searching for a potential ally. He grabs his flashlight to continue his search, and when he doesn't sense anyone around, he starts to wonder if that guy across was lying to him earlier. Just when he's about to start having doubts, he hears a clanking sound from one of the doors around him. Of course, this gives him some hope, because he's convinced that it must have been the other survivor. Looks like the guy wasn't lying after all. With this in mind, Song goes over to the door to investigate and notices that it's been locked. So, rather than bathing in, he tries to use his words first. He tells the person hiding that he knows they're there, and then quickly explains that he didn't come here to harm them. Song makes it pretty clear that he came to team up, and politely asks the person to introduce themselves to him. While saying all of this, he quietly reaches for the door in an attempt to open it. But it doesn't budge. When he doesn't get a response from the person in there, he goes ahead to introduce himself, revealing that he's an employee of the company with Sales Team 2. Still, there's no response even after a while, so the MC begins to seriously consider breaking in. He tightens the grip on his golf club as he prepares to take a big swing at the door, but that's when the person inside finally responds. For some reason, they kinda recognize his voice and ask if he's really Song. Of course, this question leaves our guy taken aback, and while he's still trying to wrap his head around it, the lady inside suddenly opens the door. He's absolutely gobsmacked the moment he sees her because it just so happens to be Miss Siona. As you can imagine, our guy is stunned, but the lady looks really excited to see after all this time. Sure enough, she lets him in and the two catch up for a while. Song is really surprised to learn that she's been here all this time. Clearly, that has been the case, and they probably wouldn't have met if it wasn't for the guy that reached out to them last night. Apparently, Our guy wasn't the only one who received a message from another survivor last night, because Sion Ah was also approached by someone who came urgently asking her to open the door. The guy was banging on the window, asking her to open up, but she had a bad feeling, so she refused to let him in. Sadly, that didn't even matter because the guy realized that she was alone and just forced his way in. She saw him trying to break in, so she didn't bother waiting to find out what would happen. Sion Ah quickly ran to the break room and hid there. She didn't even stay there up to an hour before finding out that the guy had turned into a zombie. Upon hearing this story, Song realizes that the zombie he took out when he arrived on this floor must have been the same man. Sion Ah confirms this immediately, and this makes Song wonder if she has a weapon. He asks her and she claims that she does, showing him the wooden spear sitting in a corner. The MC takes a closer look at the weapon when she brings it out, and it's pretty familiar to him. It looks similar to what Choi Jae-sung had when they came across each other. Song asks if it's a mop, and she admits that it is, revealing that she sharpened it herself with a box cutter. Apparently, it's even more useful than she thought it would be, and Song just finds it pretty intriguing as she explains. He can see the blood stains all over the sharp end and figures that she must have dealt with some zombies before as well. Clearly, she knows how to handle herself in this apocalypse, else she wouldn't still be alive right now. However, Song still fears for her. He feels that she's a huge risk because women aren't exactly known for their physical strength, and in a world like this, he thinks that having a lady as his only ally might be a major disadvantage to him. While all of this is running through his mind, the clueless lady criticizes her weapon, wishing that it would be shorter and thinner. Song stares at her with his reservations circling all around in his mind. He knows just how dangerous this apocalypse is because now, they're not being hunted by zombies alone, but by other people as well. In these conditions, having a wrong partner can easily go wrong, so he's afraid that Sion Ah might just end up being a liability to him if he's not careful. After pondering on the situation for a while, he finally decides to continue by himself. He suggests that he'd soon be on his way, but of course, Sion Ah doesn't like the sound of that. Before he can take another step, she grabs his hand to stop him and then looks him dead in the eyes before asking if he's really going to leave her. At this point, Song knows that he won't be able to avoid the difficult conversation, so he just starts by telling her how sorry he is. As soon as he says this, the lady already knows what he's implying, so she starts to panic. She begs him not to leave her, afraid that she won't be able to make it on her own, but Song just pulls away from her grasp and apologizes once again. He's clearly made up his mind about her, so he starts walking away a second time. However, Sion Ah isn't one to give up so easily, so just when he's about to leave, she reveals that she used to fence. She says this in an attempt to change his mind, but the MC doesn't seem convinced, so she assures him that it's true. Determined to prove that she's not a liability, she shows him the bloody wooden spear, revealing that she was the one who cleared out all the zombies on the 6th floor. It's pretty clear that she's not bluffing because she's even ready to show him all the corpses she left behind if he wants, and of course, this leaves Song baffled. The angry lady tells him that he'll regret leaving her behind, and she's very confident about this. The MC suddenly begins to have second thoughts, especially when she informs him that she was a silver medalist in fencing at the National Sports Festival. Sure, it was a long time ago, when she was a high school sophomore, but her skills are probably still pretty sharp. After hearing all of this, Song reconsiders his plan, and after thinking for a while, he agrees to team up with her. Not long after that, the two get ready to set out, and Sion Ah brings out a backpack with all the clothes and food she could find in the place. Hearing this, Song asks if she got power banks in there, but she didn't think about that because she thought they would be useless. After all, the last time she checked, the internet was down. At this point, our guy informs her that there's something called Spacelink, explaining that it's a means of satellite communication. Upon hearing this, Sion Ah realizes that they'll need all the power banks they can find. While finalizing their preparations, Song asks if she knows how many zombies she came across in total. So, she reveals that there were 8, but adding the one our guy took out makes it 9. Just then, Sion Ah finds the power banks, but while she's being all excited about that, our guy is busy trying to wrap his head around the fact that she killed 8 zombies by herself. It's definitely very impressive, so all of a sudden, he's feeling very glad to have teamed up with her. Sion Ah was only able to find 2 power banks in the end, so she puts them in her bag and gets ready to set out. She asks if it's time to leave, but Song notices something strange that catches his attention. There are some weird marks on the door, so he asks her about them. Upon seeing the marks, Sion Ah remembers that the guy who broke in the previous day was trying to smash the door, so she feels that the scratches were from a desk or something. Sure, that's one theory, but our guy isn't convinced. The marks are way too small and precise to have come from a table, so he scans the room for answers and eventually finds the exact tool that created the marks. Upon seeing it, identifies the vernier caliper in Song's hand. Our guy is really excited to have found it because it's a solid chunk of metal that he could use as a weapon. He's pretty confident that it wouldn't break as easily as the golf clubs, but just points out how short it is. He'll need to get real close to the zombies if he wants it to be effective, but that doesn't have to be the case because suddenly comes up with an idea. A few moments later, we see holding the newly modified weapon with a sense of pride. She straps the caliper to the blunt edge of her stick to create a longer and more dangerous spear. She hands it over to Song, suggesting that it should be very useful, and he agrees, looking really impressed. As far as he is concerned, this is just great because he can stab with it like a spear and also use it to poke like the caliper. Reveals that she made it into some kind of pole axe, pointing out that this is one of the perks of bringing her along. Seeing what she tinkered in just a few minutes, Song genuinely thanks her. When the number of people increases, it's not just the number of people to fight with that grows, but other things like this are good too. Eventually, our guy combines the food in his bag with what already had, so he believes that they won't have to worry about food for a while. That's a good development, but he can't shake the feeling of confusion when he finds the frying pan with her. He asks her what she's doing with it, and that's when she reveals that she brought it to get a refund but forgot about it. Apparently, she didn't like the color, but at least now it can be of use because Song thinks they can use it to melt snow for water later on. Is glad to have teamed up with another survivor, but she still doesn't get how he knew she was there. It was like he already knew she was hiding there before she made it obvious. Seeing her confusion, the MC tells her about the man who tipped him off from the building across. Apparently, didn't have any idea about this. She didn't even notice the building he's talking about, so Song tells her how the man there signaled him with a light before asking to team up. He shows her the picture he took on his phone, and after reading the part about teaming up, she gets a little nervous. She's not sure if that will be a good idea, and Song doesn't know either. Teaming up with a stranger is definitely risky, and this is what the both of them are worried about right now. Is really bothered about that. It's the reason why she desperately wanted to go with Song. She knew that it would be difficult to find someone she can trust, and in the current situation, our guy is the only one she's willing to go with. Makes this very clear to Song, and he understands perfectly, so he decides that they're not going to team up with the people across the way. Hearing this, the lady is pretty relieved, so she thanks him for considering her opinion. Now that they've gotten that out of the way, she informs him that their manager might actually still be alive. Song is taken aback by this, but has a very strong feeling about it. Manager Choi is currently on a different floor as far as she knows, because when the apocalypse first started, she was trapped with him on the 6th floor. That was before he ran away though. At first, was in the break room back then while Manager Choi was in the bathroom. The man had asked for her help then, but she ignored him because she was still too scared. It was later that she confirmed that he had escaped, but now, she doesn't know where he went. The manager ran away on the 2nd night from what she remembers. Since then, she's been to the 4th, 2nd and 1st floors, which means that the fat man can only be in 2 places if he's not been turned into a zombie yet. Assuming Manager Choi didn't move, then he should either be on the 3rd or 5th floor. With everything going on, Song can't help but think about the other survivors in the building across. If the people there don't get a response from him and then they'll probably try to team up with Manager Choi. That won't exactly be a good development, because there's a chance that the other survivors and the manager will come after him and if they grow their numbers, it's only a matter of time before they infiltrate and overpower these two. Song thinks deeply about this, knowing that it's a likely possibility with the way things are going. It makes him wonder how he and will respond if this happens, but he's not able to figure out an answer. As such, he decides not to bother himself with the external factors that they can't even control. As much as things can go south from here, there are still things that could be considered a silver lining. For starters, he has one more coin now, which means that they can buy some more cold weather gear. With this in mind, Song immediately opens the floating shopping window where he sees the available items. Right now, he's desperate to get a warm hat because it would definitely make him feel less cold. So, using the extra coin he recently got, he decides to purchase the hat. Now, this would make him pretty comfortable, but it's a different story for whose feet are already starting to freeze inside her shoes. If she gets frostbite on her feet and can't move, then she'll just become a burden to him. That's the last thing he needs right now, so it's logical in many ways to choose the boots over the warm hat. For this reason, he changes his mind and goes for the big furry boots instead. But just when he's about to click the button, he starts to reconsider his choices. He's reluctant to use his last 3 coins for this, especially since all he can think about right now is how gold he is. Sure, he feels pretty selfish at the moment, but he can't help it. Since they're not on the move currently, he figures that the boots are probably not that urgent. Besides, she's got a blanket covering her, so he figures that the difficult decision can wait. With this in mind, he just rolls over, feeling that he can choose later. The next morning, he wakes up to see Sion looking really frustrated as she struggles with her phone. He asks her how much battery she has left, and that's when she realizes that he's woken up. Well, waking up early has become the usual since his body has refused to adapt to this unbearable cold. Now that he's up, he asks if she remembered to charge all the batteries she found the previous night. Apparently, the only one she didn't charge is the one that Song left behind, so now her phone battery is at 22%. All of a sudden, Sion remembers that there's supposed to be a solar generator up on the rooftop, so she asks him if he's ever checked it out. Clearly he hasn't, because he didn't even have any idea about that. He'd probably have gone up to use it if he was aware, so he just stares at her in bemusement when she brings it up. The reason she's aware of this is because she was in charge of the solar generator for a little while due to a support project linked with a small business. Back then, they installed it on the rooftop, but it was halted after a flaw was discovered even before it went on sale. Song is pretty curious when she mentions some about a flaw, but she admits that she doesn't even know exactly what happened. Sion does have the details, but she knows that it wasn't a safety issue. At this point, he simply asks her the most important question, which is whether she knows how to operate it. Thankfully, she does, since she was in charge of it for some time. Hearing this, our guy suggests that they go check it out right away. Shortly after, the two make their way to the rooftop where the snowstorm is still raging. They manage to force open the door even with the heap of snow there. It wasn't easy, but they did it, so afterward they take some time to catch their breaths. Now, Song looks up, asking if the solar generator is really up there, which she confirms once again. From our guy's experience, there's usually a temporary ladder attached to one of the metal platforms, but he can't find it right now. Thankfully, Xian spots it in time and then shows it to him. They go over to it, but Song immediately realizes that it's stuck. The ladder isn't coming down despite his best efforts. The ice must have frozen the ladder up there, so Song suggests that they'll just have to climb up like that. It's definitely not going to be an easy climb, and the lady isn't even sure that Song can go up to handle it. He doesn't say anything when she asks him, which suggests that he can't, so she volunteers to climb up and asks him to hold her up. Of course, he doesn't mind helping her, so he jacks her up on the count of 3, and she floats up to the top with ease afterward. Song watches her climb so gracefully and starts to see the athleticism she was talking about earlier. After a few seconds, he calls out to her, asking if she's seen the solar generator. At first, she doesn't see anything, but after a little digging through the snow, she finds the big solar panels lying there, so she lets him know that she's seen them. Sure, it's not very big, but she's still pretty excited to find it still there in good condition. Since it's small enough, she can take it apart to bring it down, but she'll need Song to catch it to avoid it getting damaged. Our guy assures her that he can handle that, so she slides down the first solar panel to him. Of course, he's in place and easily catches it. San then passes the second, third, and fourth one to him. He catches all of them, and shortly after that, the lady comes back down to help him set them up. It takes time a while, but they eventually mount the panels for the generator. It was pretty tough, so they're both panting by the time they're done. From the look of things, Song thinks they should be done, and she confirms this, stating that the installation is now complete. It should normally be installed outside, but they can't do that with all the snow settling on the panels. It's fairly bright enough, so Song wonders if the efficiency will be high with all the clouds in the sky. From what she remembers, the generator could charge a phone to 50% when the sun shines brightly. But that's if they collected power for half a day. Sadly, the sun is barely out right now, so they'll have to wait a while to see any results. Our guy plugs in the phone at 1%, and by the next day, they come back to meet a pretty underwhelming battery level of 9%. As you can imagine, this is extremely disappointing. Apparently, the voltage is so low that the estimated charging time is 12 days to get to 100%. And so, the MC doesn't even know what to think. As you can imagine, Song and Sion are pretty disappointed when they see the extremely low battery level. The lady can't believe that they could only get 8% of battery life after charging the phone overnight. She's not the only one feeling this way though, since Song is also really pissed that they went through all that trouble the previous day just to get such a poor result. His thoughts are suddenly interrupted when he notices Son rubbing her cold feet against each other to get some warmth. As much as he wishes so much that he could solve all of this, he knows that there's actually nothing they can do since the sun isn't even out yet. The lady claims that she actually expected something like this, but even at that, it still feels really disheartening to see it unfold like this. Sure, right now things are looking pretty bleak, but our guy believes that there's still hope. After seeing what happened, he feels that they can be positive because he's actually learned something new from it. Of course, Seon-ai is very curious when she hears him say this because she has no idea what he could be talking about. She expresses her curiosity, and that's when he reveals that he knows where they'll go after they leave the office. At first, the lady doesn't understand what he means by this, but then in a flash, it suddenly clicks for her. Apparently, her guess is absolutely right because for some reason Song plans for them to go to the company's warehouse next. He's convinced that by doing so, they'll be able to find a good number of tools needed for survival along with some more food to keep going. After he breaks down the plan to Seon, she assures him that she's very much in support of the idea. Great, they're on the same page, but there's one major problem holding them back, which is the fact that our guy doesn't even know how they're supposed to get to the warehouse from the office they're in. If the car GPS doesn't work, then they'll have to find their way with just a phone, and there's already a glaring obstacle with this method, since they don't have enough battery life for that kind of mission. Song is pretty stumped at this point because he's not sure if it would even be wiser to draw a map on paper instead. He ponders deeply on the matter, but Son quickly interrupts his brainstorming session by telling him that he shouldn't even be bothered about that. She walks over to him and of course he's taken aback by what she just said. Song turns around to look at her with a look of bemusement plastered on his face, and that's when she informs him that the company house is actually close to her house. That being said, she knows exactly where the place is because she used to see it often whenever she was out for a walk. Son-ai explains all this to the MC and assures him that he doesn't have to worry about finding his way there. Of course, this is amazing news for our guy since he was already beating himself up about it. He's relieved when she tells him all this and starts confessing how glad he is to have met her. Obviously, that makes both of them because even the lady was starting to feel hopeless when she was still all alone, but now that she has a goal, she feels a lot stronger. Looking back now, Song realizes that it was a really good decision to team up with Son-ai. The lady has proven to be very useful in such a short time. She knows how to do a lot of things and takes on the hard work. Even now, he can tell that her feet must be freezing, but she's never once tried to take his boots, which he finds really impressive. With all of this in mind, he finally decides to get her those winter boats he's been contemplating on. All of a sudden, he calls out to her, and when she turns to him wistfully, he asks her what her shoe size is. As you can imagine, this question came out of the blue, so she is pretty taken aback. She doesn't get where he's going with this, so she expresses her curiosity. Of course, Song isn't keen on telling her about the floating shopping window, so he just tells her that he came across some boots earlier, claiming that he'd like to give them to her if they fit. Seon-ai said that she wasn't cold the other day on the roof, but our guy knows that it's probably not true. He offers to get her the winter shoes, and without any hesitation, she excitedly reveals that she's a size 230. Seeing the look on her face, Song is relieved that she's happy. Still feeling all excited, she asks if she can go with him to get the shoes, but he quickly tells her that he'll rather go by himself. Obviously, the winter shoes are not really in the building, so he tells her to wait and dashes off. Not long after, we see Son-ai trying on the new pair of white winter shoes, and she's really glad to see that they fit perfectly. Meanwhile, the MC receives some good news when a message from the system suddenly appears in front of him. It turns out that a party has just been formed, and as he reads further, we see that it's a party of 2. That's him and Son-ai. Besides that, the coins acquired by party members are automatically his, which is definitely a good thing. Despite being pretty excited, Seong is also quite puzzled. This is the first time he's seen something like this, so he wonders if the shop window was just the beginning of something much bigger. If that's the case, then gaining more party members would be a huge advantage. Song figures all of this out pretty quickly, but he's still not sure why it's happening now all of a sudden. It makes him wonder if it's because he gave her an item for the shop as a gift. Song ponders deeply on all this while the clueless lady keeps thanking him for his kindness. Anyway, from the look of things, it seems like he might just be able to increase the number of members of this party. Right now, he's lost in thought, wondering if other features get added too, since the shopping window probably wasn't the only mysterious thing around. He's so engrossed in this matter that he doesn't even realize that Son-ai has been trying to get his attention. She's been calling out to him for a couple minutes, but he doesn't hear her, so she finally gets fed up and goes closer to him. Obviously, she can't see the floating window, so when Song finally answers her, she asks him if he's actually okay. She informs him that he zoned out all of a sudden, which got her concerned. Hearing this, our guy quickly claims that he is just a little dizzy. suggesting that it's because he hasn't been eating well lately. This makes sense, so Seon figures that they should probably eat something before it turns into a problem. Song realizes that Seon hasn't noticed anything yet, which makes him pretty curious. It's starting to look like he's still the only one who can see the floating windows, even though he's formed a party with her. He's not sure, so he decides to just watch closely for the meantime. With this in mind, he supports Seon's idea, claiming that he'll feel better after eating something. Days pass and the Ice Age apocalypse extends to 2 weeks. It's the 14th day of being trapped in the zombie-infested building, and it's also been 3 days since their water ran out. At this point, our guy is starting to find his thirst unbearable, so he's desperate for any water he can find. Song looks like he's about to lose his mind as a result of the thirst, and Seon is no different, so it becomes clear that they need to melt some snow. The lady agrees with him and decides to go get the papers and documents that she came across earlier. She springs into action, so the MC does the same. As desperate as he is, he still knows that they should probably light the fire on the rooftop since they wouldn't want to have to deal with flames inside. That being said, he picks up a table and heads up to the roof to make a spot for the fire. Soon enough, they are outside and Song is going through the papers and documents that Seon brought with her. While he's at it, he keeps thinking of the risks involved with what they're about to do. If they light a fire outside, then the smoke will likely attract the plunderers who have been in hiding. Song is aware that there are people who mainly roam in groups, committing all forms of crimes from robbery to sexual assault to even murder. The MC didn't want to do anything that could catch the attention of the people in the building next door, but he's way too thirsty and cold right now, so he can't take it anymore. That being said, he creates a decent spot and finally starts the fire by lighting up the papers. As you can imagine, the heat from the flames is absolutely amazing to the both of them. It's so surreal, and Song is still really excited that they managed to achieve this. As for Seon, the warmth from the fire makes her feel alive again for the first time in days. Soon enough, the snow that they gathered begins to melt, and so she happily informs Song that they now have water. It doesn't take long for the pan of ice to be filled with water, so the two of them get their little cups and start drinking. As soon as Song takes his first sip, his eyes widen in amazement because he realizes how long it's been since he has warm water. Seon is so delighted as well because she had forgotten that this kind of warmth even existed in the world. After a while, she tells Song how glad she is that they didn't give up, and our boy just says the same thing. Things are really starting to look up from here, so our guy suggests that they keep working together this way, hopeful that they can make it to the end of this apocalypse. The story continues on the morning of the 15th day since they got stuck in the company building. Seon is the first to get up, so she tries to wake him up too. For some reason, she's panicking, so Song is pretty startled when he wakes up. She tells him that he needs to get up, so he asks her wrong, and that's when she points to something in the distance. Apparently, the people from the other building sent them a message. All the sleepiness vanishes from Song's face when he hears this, and then he asks his partner what exactly the message said. At this point, Seon reveals that the other survivors on that side appear to be coming to them. She explains this to our guy, leaving him in a daze, and then spells out the exact words they used. They literally said that they're going over to the company building to join Song and Seon. Our guy immediately gets up from the ground when he hears this and curiously asks her when she saw the note. Apparently, she saw the message a few seconds ago and came to wake him up right after. She believes that they left there after confirming that she has seen their message, so now she believes that they're on their way already. As far as she's concerned, it's only a matter of time before they go out on the street in an attempt to come join them. As you can imagine, our guy doesn't like the sound of this at all. The survivors from the other side must have seen the fire last night and now think that Song has a lot of resources in the company building. Right now, he can't be sure if the other survivors are friendly or if they're actually plunderers, so he doesn't trust them. He makes this very clear to Seon, and they both decide not to join the people from across the way since they don't know them. The both of them decide to stay on their own, feeling that it could get dangerous for them, but sadly, this decision isn't theirs alone to make. All of a sudden, Seon spots the people from the other building out on the street. The guys are armed with weapons and their faces are masked, which is really bothersome for our guy. Seeing that the guys are outside already, it's clear that they have to act quickly, so he suggests that they pack their things before the visitors get to them. Meanwhile, downstairs, the armed survivors make their way into the company building, brutally running through all the zombies in their path. Our guy can sense it when they're in the building and finds it shocking that they're moving this quickly. They're fighting the zombies very systematically, and so, it's just a matter of time before these intruders catch up with them. At this rate, the armed survivors would get to them in 15 minutes, so the MC packs his things to get the hell out. After grabbing his stuff, he checks on Seon to see if she's done, but she's not. Meanwhile, back outside, the other survivors suddenly begin to get overwhelmed with the number of zombies that are coming after them. They're severely outnumbered, and it becomes clear that they can't keep out all the monsters, so they decide to run for their lives instead. the intruders take a break from fighting and burst through the glass doors of the building to escape the zombies. Of course, when our guy sees this, he begins to panic even more. He curses in frustration because now the other guys are going to reach them even sooner. Desperate to escape, he turns to check on San again. He asks if she's okay when he sees her crouched down to the ground. Apparently, she gathered everything already, but she wasn't able to carry the big solar panels. Sure, they need the panels for energy, but right now, it's only going to slow them down if they try to carry them, so Song tells her to leave them behind. Of course, the lady is reluctant to do this since the panels are the only power supply they have. However, our guy insists that survival comes first. So, after contemplating for a while, she agrees with him and decides to move out. The two grab their stuff along with their weapons and make their way out to the stairway. As soon as they come out, they realize that the other survivors are already coming upstairs. Sadly, now they have another problem because they're not sure if they should go up to the rooftop or down to the lower floors. It would be easier to go up to the roof, and it will also be easier to defend themselves at first. However, if this drags on, they could get stuck up there and the cold would put them at a serious disadvantage. Our boy can already foresee some of the problems that could come with being stuck on the roof, so he decides that it's wiser to go down to the lower floor. Song and San make the way downstairs despite the risk of coming across the intruders. They make it safely to the 6th floor and immediately begin to make preparations. Our boy suggests that they block the entrance immediately and hold their ground to avoid getting caught off guard. Of course, Sion is ready to give her all, so they both stand guard at the entrance and brace themselves for what is to come. At the same time, the intruders keep advancing and their footsteps are getting a lot louder to the MC. Song tells her to get ready, and that's when he hears the railings vibrating. It's clear now that the intruders are even closer than before, so it's just a matter of time before they find them. Sion can see everything going on, so she doesn't even need our guy to tell her that the intruders are checking the place in search of any other survivors. At the moment, the armed men are on the 4th floor, tearing apart the entire place to find something. When they don't find anything there, they move up to the 5th floor. Song can sense this, so he knows that the intruders will be on the 6th floor any moment now. Song and his partner have already barricaded the door to prepare for this. They're waiting there for the men to come in, but they're shocked when that doesn't happen. All of a sudden, they can't hear the noises anymore, which leaves them baffled. Song doesn't get why the intruders aren't coming up anymore. The lady can also sense that something feels off, so she begins to panic as well, and while she's still trying to figure out what's going on, the whole place starts to vibrate. Glass shattered all over and the quaking sends our guy falling to the ground. After this happens, San is even more confused. She turns to check if Song is okay and the MC does the same, asking if she's fine. They get back on their feet, hoping to find an answer for what just happened, and the lady suggests that it could have been some kind of explosion. Of course, it seems likely, so this makes Song panic. There are only 2 of them, so he doesn't get why the intruders would even bother with explosives. At that moment, he suddenly remembers the note he found days ago, warning him to avoid the 5th floor. All of a sudden, pieces of the puzzle start falling in place as several memories run through Song's mind. He remembers San telling him that she thinks the section chief is still alive. He remembers that she said that the manager would either be on the 3rd floor or the 5th. And so now, after hearing that explosion from below, it all starts to make sense. Our guy suddenly has an idea and asks the lady to follow him so they can go check the lower floors. As you'd expect, she's taken aback by this idea because this isn't even a good time to take a risk like that. However, the MC is clearly not going back on this decision, so she follows him nervously, wondering if this is going to be okay. In response, our guy insists that everything will be fine because if his guess is correct, then they'll finally be able to find the answers they've been looking for. By the time they get down to the 5th floor, they're astounded by the amount of rubble they come across. There's no doubt that an explosion took place here, so our guy knows that they can't afford to let their guard down now. He tells San to stay sharp, and of course the lady is locked in, just like him. While they're quietly moving down there, they sense something strange. Sion is the first to notice it, so she calls Song's attention to it. The assistant manager turns to it, and by the time they shine their flashlights in that direction, they're stunned to discover a corpse lying there. From the look of things, these dead bodies have not been lying here for too long, which makes them understand just how dangerous the place is. San begins to panic after seeing the corpse, but our boy knows better than to lose his composure. With this in mind, he decides to go investigate, but first, he tells the lady to stay put and wait for him. It's definitely something to worry about when he sees fresh corpses lying around, but Song chooses to remain calm. It's a truly brutal scene on display, but right now, he's more interested in finding out why there are only 2 dead bodies there. He takes a look around and realizes that there probably aren't any explosives left. He reaches the door and is shocked to find that it's been completely blown away by the explosion. It's pretty scary, but the brave hero goes in anyway to investigate some more. And that's when he begins to hear some voices. The person talking seems to be very upset with his shitty life, and it appears that a group of people are trying to kill him. For some reason, the voice sounds pretty familiar to our guy, and after listening for a while, he realizes that it's Chief Choi talking. With this in mind, our guy confirms that the explosion must have been the old man's doing. So far, that's the only thing Song has been able to confirm, and he still needs to figure out what and who the man is talking to. Determined to get some answers, our guy enters the office and calls out to the section chief curiously. The man sees him and is immediately excited about it. He recognizes our boy as the assistant manager, but then all of a sudden, the look on his face turns into something else. Just then, he starts begging our guy to save him. The man desperately crawls over to our guy asking for help, and that's when Song sees that the guy's leg is gone. He keeps begging him, telling him how much he wants to live. Choi cries out, talking about how unfair life is. Obviously, he doesn't want to die like this, so he's desperate for Song to save him. As you can imagine, our guy is not too keen on getting close to the injured man because he's not even sure of the situation on ground. He stands there dumbfounded and reluctant to go into the dark where the old man is. Just then, Son-ah arrives right behind him, curiously asking what's going on. She heard the voice too and recognized it, so now she's wondering if Chief Choi is still alive. She's still talking to Song when the injured man emerges from the darkness once again, looking full of hope now that Son-ah is here. He asks her to remember him, begging her to help him and save him from the clutches of death. She's stunned when she sees the man covered in blood, and as much as she'd like to help, there's not much they can do for him in his condition. Song tells the chief how sorry they are, explaining that they don't have any medicine to help him. Besides, they're not even doctors, so they don't know how to help him. However, the section chief is desperate to live, so nothing they're saying right now even makes any sense to him. He yells at them, insisting that there's a way he can survive, and this leaves the dude pretty confused. Seon-ai is still trying to figure out where the man is going with this when he reveals what he has in mind. Apparently, Choi is so desperate that he feels he won't die if he becomes a zombie. So, he asks them to bring one of the zombies over to him, because if he gets infected, then he won't die. The chief knows how difficult that might be for them, so he suggests that they can also take him down to the first floor, where he'll just let himself get bitten. For some reason, he's convinced that this is a good idea, but our guy doesn't even know how to start explaining what a crazy plan it is. The man crawls over to him and holds his hands, hoping that he can convince them to play along with his mad idea. Sadly, Song Jin-seong can't see himself doing it, so he just apologizes to the chief once again, admitting that he can't help him. That being said, he lowers Choi's hand to the floor and creates some distance between them. At this point, the old man is furious, so he curses at them, wondering why the hell they can't help him now. Choi reminds them how he held off the raiders for them and expresses his disappointment that they can't repay the favor. He feels that they're screwing around with him and accuses them of not wanting to save him because they want to shack up together. As far as he's concerned, they're both selfish pieces of shit who don't want to help him. He calls Seon-ah a dirty bitch for flirting with him before and now hanging on to another guy. The man feels slighted, and since they don't want to help him, he doesn't mind if they all die together. One of the bombs didn't go off earlier, which means he still has one explosive left to use on them. At this point, it's clear that he's about to do something absolutely insane, but before he can even finish making his threats, he gets stabbed to death with the wooden spear. After dealing with Chief Choi, the duo take a look around the place and realize that those guys who came around were really raiders. It's clear that those people wanted to take their stuff because the bags they came with were totally empty. They check the weapons the guys came with and notice that the shield is broken from the explosion and can't be used. Besides that, the hammer they left behind is too heavy to carry, so now Song is conflicted. The MC carries all of the weapons while Son-ah keeps checking the bags. He looks at how messed up the place is, with the shattered glass everywhere, and suddenly says that the plunderers would have died anyway. This catches the lady off guard, so she asks him what he's talking about. As you can imagine, she still feels pretty bad that they had to kill the chief, so to hear Song say this leaves her puzzled. Seeing the look on her face, he states that Manager Choi would have died either ways from the blood loss. He would have slowly gone into shock from the excessive blood loss, so he believes that they reduced the old man's suffering by letting him die early. That being said, he assures her that there's no need to feel guilty. As far as Song is concerned, this is the best way things could have gone for them, because even if they helped him to become a zombie, they'd still have no choice but to kill him. It's pretty harsh, but it's the truth and a reality that they have to get used to. Son-ah stares at him, looking all dazed, but then after a while, she breaks the silence and agrees with him. She feels that he's absolutely right, and so she stops feeling bad about what happened. Soon enough, they get back to their mission to survive, and they arrive at one of the shattered windows. Son-ah looks out the window and spots something crazy. It's a horde of zombies swarming out on the street. Later on, Song checks his phone for updates on the situation, wondering if anyone else felt the explosion. It was pretty huge, so he feels that the others should have sensed it too. Sure enough, they heard it, and they're also aware that it came from the Taesung Trading Building, which is where our boy has been since the apocalypse started. The people are aware of what happened, but nobody knows why it happened. The community knows that they started a fire too, which makes them a target now. Of course, this makes our guy really worried because now that it's a topic in the community, other raiders will come flocking too. On top of that, the zombies that swarmed outside are also a problem. Song has been watching everything since the day before, and while the zombies are spreading out again over time, most of them are still remaining. The lobby probably doesn't even have room to step. Now it's clear that they can't hesitate and let them occupy the emergency exit too. He figures that they leave at the earliest, the day after at the latest. Hearing this, Sean is once again on board. It sounds like a good plan to her, and since they're on the same page, Song suggests that they go check the situation on the first floor. The MC picks up his flashlight and Seon does the same. They strap the lights on their heads to help them see properly. After walking for a while, the lady stops all of a sudden because she hears a strange sound all of a sudden. By this time, they both hear a loud bang and Song figures that it must be coming from upstairs. They stare at each other at this point, unsure of what is to come, but they have to check it out, so our brave hero takes the lead. He takes a peek and sees a zombie walking around in the room. This makes Son begin to panic all of a sudden, so Song quickly shuts the door. She begins to freak out, fearing that Choi could be in there, but our guy knows that it's the guilt talking right now. So, he assures her that it's not possible for Choi to be there. His head was pierced through, so even if he got infected later, he would still die. Still, she can't get herself to calm down. She's afraid that one of the raiders got bitten on a lower floor, but Song assures her that it's not the case. If that was true, they probably would have turned into a zombie by the time they arrived. That being said, Song suggests that it's probably a survivor from the 3rd floor that went up to the 5th floor. It's either that, or something came in through the broken window on the 5th floor. Of course, the latter would be way too bad for them to deal with, so the two of them decide to assume that it's the former. Now that they have this idea, the MC suggests that they go back down to the 1st floor. The hero never imagined that the situation would get this bad. It's right to say the 1st floor has been completely overrun, so this makes him remember the security room where he spent some time. He wonders what the assistant manager Choi Jae-sung is doing. If he was in the security room, he would have heard and felt the explosion closer than anyone. With this in mind, he realizes that going out that way would actually be suicide. At this point, Seon suggests going out through the underground parking garage. Thankfully, our guy was thinking the same thing, so they head down that way. There were no zombies when they checked before, but that might have changed, so he reminds her to be alert. Sure enough, there are several zombies down there now, but there aren't too many. There are about 10, which is a lot fewer than what's in the lobby. The place is filled with cars because everyone left their cars when the snowstorm started. The duo can use this to their advantage because there are plenty of cars they can use as cover. Besides that, the zombies might not even smell them either if they move quickly since it's underground. Just then, our guy notices a reflection in a mirror and asks Seon if she can make out what's in it. His eyesight isn't that good, so he can't see it properly. Seon can't see that much better than him, but she can see that the frequency of zombies on the other passage is similar to what they have on this side. This feedback is enough for our guy to make a decision, and so he suggests that they go up to the 7th floor for now. Later on, the two get some rest, and while they're waiting there, Seon talks about how much better it would be if they could just travel by car. Sadly, this might not work because the batteries in most of the cars would have died since they've been sitting in the cold for over 2 weeks. The car option isn't going to work, so she wishes that they could use bicycles. Sadly, there are none, so they'll just have to walk. Once that's out of the way, the two get back to planning their escape with a map. After they're done making plans, they try to get some rest, but the cold is absolutely freezing with a temperature of -35 degrees. Neither of them are able to sleep in these conditions, so after shivering violently for a while, Son finally decides to break the silence. She asks Song if he's still awake, and he answers, even though it's obvious. Well, he's been tossing and turning all night, so she could tell that he hasn't been able to sleep. Besides the cold, she can sense that he's worried about something and feels that it's probably because he's been thinking about the person on the 1st floor. He's worried about Jae-sung and he admits it, so Son tells him that he can go bring the guy if he wants. However, the MC doesn't take this offer because he knows that doing that could endanger their lives. Right now, she's his only ally in this apocalypse and he can't risk losing her. But then again, he just feels bad because Jae-sung seemed trustworthy. Hearing this, Seon admits that it's unfortunate that the person is someone he trusts. She reminds him that there will probably be more dangerous situations once they go outside, insinuating that they hold on to anyone they can trust. As soon as our guy hears this, he asks if she'd be okay if Jae-sung joined them, and she assures him that she doesn't mind. Hearing this, our guy gets on his feet like he's just made a decision and quickly picks up his phone. He tells her that he's going to use his phone for a while, so she can turn away if the screen is too bright. Son doesn't mind, of course, so she gives him room to do so. Song opens his chat with Jae-sung and sends a message, asking the guy to meet up with him at the emergency exit on the 1st floor at 6 AM if he is planning to escape the building. The next day, which is 17 days since the apocalypse started, our boy and his partner get ready for the big move. It's 5:40 am and Song is anxiously waiting to hear from Jae-sung. There's still no response from his fellow assistant manager. He's disappointed when he sees this, but Son-ah reminds him that they might be waiting for him at the emergency exit, urging him to go with him and stay positive. So, they too make their way down the building from the 5th floor to the 3rd, and finally to the 1st floor. By the time they get to the emergency exit, there's no one else there, which just confirms what Song has been worrying about. Still, they wait for a while, and 3 minutes after the appointed time, they're still not joined by anyone. Seon-ah knows that this is important to him, so she asks if he'd like to wait a while longer. Of course he does, so they wait for 2 more minutes, and by the time it's 6:05 am, there's still no one that comes around. Now at this point, it's time for our boy to make the difficult choice. By the time Song-jin, Song, and Seon-ah make it to the exit on the ground floor, it's pretty clear that no one else will be joining them. Our guy was really hoping that their other colleagues would see the message and come on time, but seeing that nobody else is there, there's nothing they can do about it. They just have to keep moving before the zombies get to them. Before setting off, they look out the glass door and notice a lone zombie wandering outside. This zombie wasn't there before, which means that it's just a matter of time before more appear. That being said, our guy suggests that they'll have to take it out immediately, but for that they'll need to go with Plan A. Back at the underground parking lot, we see the two stealthily trying to make their way past the zombies. Looking around, they can confirm that it's just like the community said. The zombies keep circling the same spots, and the ones who aren't moving this way are just standing still. While they're trying to be as quiet as possible behind a car, they suddenly come across one zombie standing right next to the vehicle. It only takes a single look at one another for them to know that they have to take it out. So, Song slowly stands up to make the move, but as soon as he takes a step toward the zombie, the noise comes out a lot louder than he hoped, and the undead monster instantly detects it. These zombies are already notorious for having insanely enhanced hearing abilities, so the sound gives his location away and the creature charges at him. This zombie in particular is pretty quick, but our guy sees the attack coming, and of course, he braces himself for it. Song grips his weapon tightly with a confident smirk on his face as the zombie comes towards him. But just when it looks like he's about to take on the monster, Son-ah comes out of nowhere to strike the undead monster. She whacks the zombie in the head and mercilessly beats it to death. We're certain she killed it because a notification pops up, stating that Song's party member has just mined a coin. Our guy is also informed that this coin is now bound to the party leader, who just happens to be him. In other words, Song just gained another coin thanks to Son-ah's wonderful fighting skills. As you'd expect, the MC is more than happy to see that the lady is more than capable of taking out a zombie, so he quietly commends her with a thumbs-up gesture. At the same time, Seon-ah is pretty proud of herself, especially after seeing how impressed Song is. She smiles at him with bright red cheeks, and they both continue their journey shortly after. They keep moving through the parking lot as quietly as they can, and it doesn't take too long before they finally make it outside. Once they're out there, they're instantly reminded of the endless snowstorm that's been going on for weeks now. The air is absolutely freezing, and even though they expected it to be very cold, they definitely didn't imagine it would be this bad. It's so unbearable that Song fears that they'll freeze to death if they even consider sleeping out there. Obviously, they can't stay out for much longer, so our guy suggests that they keep moving. Son-ah agrees with him, but insists that they head down to Cheonggyecheon before anywhere else. Our boy finds this to be a brilliant idea since it's safer for them. After all, zombies can't go up or down stairs. These two keep moving through the snowy, zombie-infested streets, determined to survive despite the incredibly harsh conditions. After a while, the hazardous elements start to get to them, and Seon-ah is the first to complain. As far as she's concerned, they're moving way slower than she expected, and she'd definitely like to pick up the pace. However, our guy reminds her that they don't have much of a choice. After all, moving slowly is way better than getting spotted by the zombies and having to fight them. Of course, she knows that he's right, so she sucks it up and forces herself to keep moving through the blizzard. Thankfully, after a very arduous journey, their destination is finally in sight. Seon-ah is so relieved to see that they're almost at Cheonggyecheon. As excited as Song also is, he reminds her that they can't let their guard down. He urges her to be very careful, because there's a ton of zombies swarming near the police station. After a while, their destination is only 30 meters ahead, and shortly after that, they only have to keep walking for about 20 meters. Soon, it's 17 meters, and just like that, step by step, the two get closer to their goal. Unfortunately, just when they're so close to the end of the journey, the snow suddenly starts coming down harder. Song immediately knows that this is very bad for them, especially since the wind picks up in a flash. This makes things a lot harder for them since their scents will be carried toward the horde of zombies in no time. Before he can even finish the thought, notices it as well. The wind is blowing rapidly toward the police station, so they've only got a few seconds before the zombies catch their scent. Sure enough, the wind blows their human essence right into the nostrils of the undead, and just like that, there's a swarm of zombies charging at them. Starts panicking when she sees the monsters coming, so she asks Song what to do. I mean, he's the party leader, so he should have a plan, right? Well, he doesn't have one right away, but seeing that they'll be mauled to death in a few seconds, the gears in his head start turning real quick. Song knows that going down to Cheongjiakian right now would be suicide, so that's out of their options. The zombies can't walk down the stairs, but that doesn't mean they can't come down the steps now that they've caught their scent. It's a chase now, so whether these two like it or not, these mindless brain eaters will probably tumble down somehow. Of course, our guy has already thought of this, so he knows that such a thing will make a lot of noise and just attract more zombies to come swarming in. With this in mind, he concludes that the best way to go would be to get into a building as soon as possible. Right now, any building would be enough, but there's a major problem with that plan. You see, all the open entrances are already surrounded by the zombies, and if they try breaking into a locked building, the noise will only draw the undead creatures to them. Our guy is seriously brainstorming right now, but it's clear that he needs to speed it up if he doesn't want to be torn apart in seconds. Points this out to him, stating that they have to do something and not just wait there like sitting ducks. In that moment, the MC is forced to make a decision, so without overthinking it, he decides that they head left. He looks over there, referring to the bus just sitting there. As soon as they see the opportunity, they run as fast as they can toward it. But that's when they're met with another challenge. The door is locked shut, and despite all their pushing and pulling, they're unable to open it. Gets frustrated and concludes that there is no point trying anymore. She considers breaking the glass window with her stick, but of course, that's not a very good idea, so our guy tells her to wait a second. He looks through the window and notices that the key is still in the ignition. As you can imagine, this is enough motivation to keep trying, so he shoves the metal part of his weapon in between the door and finally gets it open. Goes in first, and by the time Song looks to the side, he sees that the zombies are merely a few feet away from getting to him. Thankfully, he gets into the bus before they can reach him, and then uses his stick to keep the door shut. Of course, he knows that this is just a temporary fix, so he gets right to work, trying to figure out how to start the bus. He knows that it's only a matter of time before the zombies get in, and confirms his fear by telling him just how close the brain eaters are. He tries to start the engine, but it doesn't work at first, and it's looking like they're finally going to be sitting ducks. The stick holding the door will definitely not stay there for long, so he suggests that they try blocking the entrance before the zombies get to them. Meanwhile, they're both still praying for the engine to start, and after a couple tries, the bus finally starts. Sadly, this joy is short-lived because the engine just goes off once again, leaving our guy extremely frustrated. Song tries again, but by this time, it's already too late because the zombies are right outside the door. Stands there to stay on guard, and for good reason, because the glass door alone is definitely not enough to keep the vicious zombies outside. The first one smashes through the door, desperately trying to get to them, but she just stabs it with her spear and sends it right back outside. She stabs a couple of them to buy our boy some time while he desperately tries to start the engine. Just when it looks like they're cooked, Song finally starts the bus, and without even thinking about it, he floors the pedal to get the hell out of there. The bus accelerates so fast that falls back when it starts moving. The poor girl didn't see it coming. Song sees his colleague flat on her back and immediately checks on her to see if she's okay. Thankfully, she's fine, and it's not like they can stop moving now, so he simply advises her to hold on tight. Song puts his foot on the gas and starts speeding toward one of the buildings. He doesn't plan to ram in there, of course, so he steers away from the glass doors, but then he's headed for another building before he knows what's happening. Song tries to stop the bus by using the brakes, but nothing seems to be working. The vehicle doesn't slow down because of how frozen the roads are now, so they're both just praying for the tires to grip the road. It's clear that they're headed right into a wall, so while Song is still trying to stop the bus, just closes her eyes to brace for impact. Thankfully, by the time she opens her eyes, they're still alive and the bus is still in one piece. Of course, this is a big relief to see that the bus finally stopped. Goes straight to the window and confirms that the door is still locked properly. This is a good thing, because at least the immediate danger has been dealt with. Well, they're safe inside for now, but judging by the number of zombies pounding on the windows, they know that they have to come up with a plan fast. Sion can tell that these monsters aren't stopping anytime soon, so she suggests that they need something to draw the zombies' attention. Right now, our boy can't think of anything to help with that, so he figures that the only way that can work is if someone happens to pass by. They need to hope that happens very quickly because the zombies are crowding in more and more. Just thinking about this gets our guy frustrated because of how helpless he is. Song is also very worried because if this keeps up, then it's just a matter of time before the bus tips over. The number of zombies keeps increasing and they keep banging on the bus, which scares the two partners. At this point, the MC begins to wonder if this is really the end. It's looking like this is where his story ends, and just thinking about it makes his blood boil. After everything it took him to get here, he refuses to accept that this is how it's all going down. Song is convinced that there has to be something he can do. There just has to be a way out of this, so he forces himself to think hard. While he's busy brainstorming, Sion calls his attention to something else. All of a sudden, some metal poles and other stuff fall down on the other side of the road, and the noise is so loud that it attracts the zombies. Almost all the mindless brain eaters run toward the noise, and this buys the MC and his partner some time. Son sighs in relief, knowing that it was definitely a close call, but as much as they're probably thanking their stars, our boy is still really curious as to what caused the noise. He looks out the window trying to figure out what happened, and he notices that there are still a few zombies lurking around. Hearing this, Sion assures him that the others will go away too soon enough, and that's when he asks her if she saw where those metal objects came from. Apparently, she saw it happen, so she tells him that it was from the second or third floor. As you can imagine, the MC is very curious as to what it could have been, and his partner admits that she's not even sure. From all indications, she's convinced that it might have been another survivor who still has a bit of humanity left in them. She's still saying this when her thoughts are suddenly confirmed. The moment San looks up, she sees the same person she saw earlier. It's the person who helped them distract the zombies, so she's really excited to see the person waving at them. Song sees his partner waving back against this person, so his curiosity is piqued. He gets up, squinting his eyes to see who the person is. From the long hair, he figures that it's probably a woman, and that's when San notices that the person is holding binoculars too. Apparently, our boy didn't notice this before, so he's pretty taken aback. Anyway, San proceeds to show her gratitude by typing a thank you message in her phone and showing it to the other survivor. Sure enough, the lady with the binoculars is able to read the message clearly, and after that little exchange, Sion notices that the lady just gave them a thumbs up. As for our boy, he's just glad to see that there's still some humanity left in people after all. His partner is also relieved to see this because it would be too sad if all the living humans were just raiders. Clearly, Song feels the same way, and he's so grateful that he wishes he could give the lady some of their instant noodles as a show of appreciation. Well, he quickly learns that they don't even have any noodles anymore because Sion quickly reminds him that they're all out. Bro forgot that he had already eaten all of his rations before now. They both joke about their lack of food, and after sharing a good laugh, Sion asks if he thinks that there'd be ramen in the distribution warehouse. At least that's what she thinks. Song is convinced that there should actually be food there, so he suggests that the first thing they do when they get there is to eat some ramen, and of course, Sion is all for that idea. The two office workers are forced to wait in the bus throughout the day, and soon, the sun goes down, so they just sit at the back of the bus, shivering in the cold. Song notices that San is feeling unwell, so he checks up on her, but she's surprised that he's even still awake. Sure, he's awake and he also looks sick, but he's more concerned about her, because she's completely pale right now. He looks outside the window and sees the wind still blowing strong, and this is obviously not good for them. He thought that they would be fine inside the bus, but now he can see that these thin windows can't keep out the freezing cold. Later on, San wakes up again and he realizes that the cold woke her up. He's definitely worried about her, but she keeps assuring him that she'll be fine. Song takes her hand and realizes that her body is absolutely freezing. Her lips are blue and she's been shivering nonstop since earlier. It's not like he's doing any better though, but he's just worried about her. Song can see the confusion on her face, so he tries to explain to her why they need to warm up. If they don't do that, then they won't be able to move properly. Sure, she gets what he's trying to say, but besides starting a fire, she can't think of any other way for them to warm themselves. After hearing this, our guy goes quiet for a while as the gears in his head start turning again. He brainstorms for a few seconds and then finally decides that they have to light a fire. As you can imagine, this idea sounds strange to her because they're literally inside a vehicle. She can't believe that he's even serious for suggesting that they start a fire inside the bus because they'll literally suffocate for sure. Well, Song already knows that this is a possibility, so he explains that this is why they need a vent for the smoke. Song knows that it will be too loud if they break a window, and of course, that will just attract the zombies to them again. Just then, they both look up at the ceiling and have the same idea. They see the hatch up there, so I immediately shoves her stick to see if she can create an opening. Thankfully, it works, so Song suggests making a few more holes. Shortly after that, we see that the two actually made a fire inside the bus, and their little gimmick with the holes in the ceiling works as some kind of chimney. While warming themselves by the flames, suddenly shows him something on her phone. Apparently, it's a post that went up earlier that morning, and she has a feeling that it might just be about them. The post talks about two survivors, a man and a woman who escaped Seoul by bus. He also sees a message that's allegedly from the people who helped them distract the zombies earlier. After reading the message, Song definitely feels that it's about them, but he's not sure yet, so he figures that they try confirming. He picks up the phone and asks the others to tell them which building they're in. Sure enough, they respond, revealing that it's the opposite building, stating that there's a convenience store on the first floor. In order to confirm that they're on the same page, the other survivors ask them which car is parked right in front of the convenience store. Immediately goes to take a look and confirms that it's a white Sonata. Our guy passes on the message, and the people on the other side reveal that he's correct. Now that they're all sure who they're talking to, Song thanks them again for helping them out with their zombie situation. And then, the others respond by asking if they can join the duo on the bus. Seeing this, Song shows the message and asks her what she thinks. The scene shifts and the story continues the next morning. On the chat, a message came in that morning from a guy who woke up, and as soon as he opened his window, he was shocked to see a zombie crawling up the wall. As you'd expect, he freaked out and started throwing everything he had at it, hitting it in the head until it fell back down. Other users see this message and of course, they're shocked because they didn't know that the zombies have now somehow evolved into doing parkour. I mean, it literally sounds like mutant zombies are coming onto the scene now. The guy who dropped the message responds, claiming that the zombie looked oddly familiar, and so he checked only to find out that it was the manager of the indoor climbing gym next door. At this point, it's clear to them that there are zombies that retain their skills from before they turned. Meanwhile, back with our guy and his partner at exactly 8:56 am, Song suggests that they start preparing and agrees with him. Before heading out, she asks him what he thought of that post they saw earlier on the chat about the mutant zombies. He claims that he actually expected that something like that would be the case, but Song is surprised to hear this. She wonders how he knew, so he reminds her of the explosion that shattered the windows back when they were on the 5th floor where manager Choi died. Song realizes that the zombies that got up there probably made it there by climbing the walls. Anyway, they come out of the bus back into the road where the zombies are still roaming all over. Of course, they don't want to be out here too long, so they keep hoping that the other survivors will join them soon. Thankfully, at exactly 900 am, someone steps out of the building and starts walking toward them. She's got a friendly smile on her face, so figures that it must be the lady that helped them out the day before. For someone who's been trapped in this apocalypse, the woman looks really good, so can't help but feel jealous, especially when she sees the padded jacket she's wearing. Song sees it as well and begins to think that they should also get some winter clothes like that. His partner feels that this lady must be so kind and she can't wait to team up and become a trio. Unfortunately, her hopes are instantly dashed when a zombie flies out of nowhere and bites the new girl in the neck. It happens so fast that they can't even believe it. Even the girl is too stunned to move, and while the others are watching in horror, the zombie proceeds to feast on her. It's truly a gruesome sight, but they can't even gasp or scream in horror, because that would just make them the next item on the menu. To make matters worse, the potent smell of blood fills the air immediately, so Song knows that it's just a matter of seconds before the other zombies swarm the place. He covers his mouth to stop himself from making a sound, and even though he feels bad for the new girl, staying here just puts them at risk, so he decides that they get the hell out of there. He starts walking away, but doesn't move a muscle. He realizes that she's not following him, so he turns around to call her, and that's when he sees that she's still in a daze. She keeps staring at the poor girl getting devoured by the zombie, so he pulls her arm to get her attention. Thankfully, she finally spans out of the trance and urges her to move on despite what just happened. After all, It's the only thing they can do if they want to survive. Eventually, San comes around, and from the look on her face, you can tell that she's probably never going to be the same after what she just witnessed. The both of them continue their journey and eventually make it to the subway. Of course, it's very dark down there, so Song just stands at the top of the stairs to consider their options for a second. While looking down the dark stairway, Sion asks if this is really the right way to go. Well, it's not like our guy can know for sure. However, what he does know is that the surface is too risky, and there are too many variables up there. But then again, there's a possibility that all the people who were on the trains and the station got infected after the apocalypse started. There's a chance that they'd be walking into a zombie-infested death trap, so our guy is hesitant to go down. He's still brainstorming when all of a sudden, the wind picks up again. San notices immediately, so she calls out to him, but he already knows. He's also aware that it's never a good thing when that happens, so he ultimately decides that they head down to the subway. They turn on their flashlights and make it down the stairs, but after walking for a while, they don't come across any zombies. Sion is surprised to see this because she was probably expecting the place to be swarming with the undead brain eaters. Either way, our guy is not exactly relieved because, zombies or not, all that's left are corpses, which is not a good sign. Seeing all the dead bodies, Xian figures that they were trampled by a crowd or something. The corpses aren't that many, which catches Song's attention. He surmises that the ones who died were probably stuck in the subway and couldn't escape. He's still investigating the scene when his partner taps him on the shoulder from behind to get his attention. He turns around with an anxious look on his face, and that's when she shows him a convenience store. A big smile creeps up on his face when he sees it because he feels that they just hit the jackpot or something. They both enter the place, eager to get some supplies and, more importantly, food. However, that smile is quickly wiped off his face because as soon as they enter the place, they find that it's completely empty. All of a sudden, he's starting to see exactly why there weren't any zombies around. It's looking really hopeless right now, but Sion still feels that they can salvage something out of the place. She noticed the leftover soda cans were smashed, so she thinks that it's a sign and suggests that they check the storage room for some stuff. They get into the room and, surprisingly, there's actually a few cans of beer sitting on the shelf. As you can imagine, our boy is so excited to finally get his hands on some booze for the first time in weeks. Maybe he did hit the jackpot after all. Anyway, from the look of things, someone probably left these behind on purpose, so he doesn't think they should take everything. Song asks Sion if they should just take a can or two, and the lady just nods in agreement. Shortly after that, they make their way out of the store and back to the subway. Song was able to get something he was craving, but that's not exactly the case for Sion. She really hoped that the clothing stores would have something for them, but they were looted till nothing was left. When she says this, Song admits that he was also hoping to get a few things from the store too. I mean, their biggest issue right now is surviving the freezing cold, so San really wanted some winter clothes. I mean, it's still only summer and she knew that there'd be mostly summer clothes, but she didn't even expect that every single piece of clothing would be gone. While the clothing store was empty, Song noticed that the phone store just next door wasn't even touched. Well, that makes sense since only a few survivors even know that there's a way to communicate anymore. Soon, they get to the tracks and it becomes pretty clear that they'll have to walk a lot more than they thought. Trains aren't working anymore and Sion believes that they would have to walk about 20 kilometers. As soon as Song hears this, he starts moving, but before he can march ahead of her, she pulls him back to show him something weird that she saw earlier. It was so weird that she took a photo. Sion takes out her phone and shows him the picture in her gallery. It appears to be some kind of note left behind by someone. The writer claims that they expected chaos to come, but not like this. That it's far beyond anything they imagined, and that they're scared now, not sure what to do or where to go because they can't find their way. After reading this note, our boy immediately gets the feeling that whoever wrote the note is somehow responsible for the apocalypse. They might have caused all this, but he can't be sure, so he just tells Sion how creepy he thinks the note is. Just then, her phone battery dies, so the MC simply suggests that they keep moving. The two walk down the tracks for several kilometers, and the farther they go, the more anxious they get. It's so clean along the tracks that it's unsettling, and Sion feels the same way. She thought that there would be bats or animals at least, but there's no sign of anything. Not even zombie corpses anywhere, which makes Song conclude that they're all gathered somewhere. Just thinking about it gives Sion chills, and she keeps wondering what would happen if they run into the zombies soon. Just then, they finally come across the abandoned train, so they stop in their tracks, unsure of their next move. The story continues with our guy and his partner going right into the abandoned train to look for anything that can be useful to them. Seong focuses on the lower levels like the floor and under the seats, while searches the ceiling in the meantime. However, even after looking for a while, they don't find anything at all, not even a single corpse. It's starting to look pretty fishy at this point, because there should actually be some abandoned stuff in there. And just when it looks like they're not going to find anything, notices a small object sitting on the overhead shelf. She quickly calls Song's attention to it and then brings it down, revealing the box. Our guy comes around to see, and by the time she opens the box, they both discover that it is a kitchen knife sitting in there. It's still pretty shiny with no rust, suggesting that it's quite new. Despite being pretty confused by the whole thing, inspects the knife without hesitation. She notices that the blade is a little short but admits that it's sharp enough, feeling that it will be useful. It turns out she's not the only one who found something, because our guy suddenly reveals that he also discovered something over in the other compartment, so he opens his backpack to take out the item. Song hands it over to her and she immediately recognizes it as a Bluetooth speaker, but she's not exactly sure why he took it. So, he explains that it could come in handy later when they're trying to lure the zombies. Shortly after finding the knife and the speaker, the duo resume their search inside the train car, but they don't find anything at all and start to realize that they should probably have come here sooner. At this point, it's looking like there's nothing else that can be of use to them in there, so Song suggests that they head out and keep moving. He helps Seon get off the train, and after walking a few meters, they notice something strange ahead of them. They stop in their tracks to take a closer look, and that's when they see the human-like figure standing in the middle of the tracks. Song and Seon are immediately alarmed at this point because they know that it's probably a zombie. Sure enough, their fears are confirmed when the zombie slowly emerges from the shadows and starts walking toward them. For some reason, the zombie doesn't show any reaction despite sensing their presence. It just keeps staring at them, which leaves our boy pretty confused and anxious. Besides the fact that the undead monster is standing in their way, Song is even more worried by the sheer size of the thing. The zombie is so huge, and he's almost certain that it is at least 2 meters tall. But while he's still trying to wrap his head around his bug, the zombie is Seon suddenly reveals that she recognizes the zombie. Apparently, she knew the man before he got infected, so she immediately tells Song that the guy they're looking at used to be a pro baseball player from the KBO. Song isn't too surprised when she says this. In fact, it makes a lot of sense because it explains why the zombie is so huge. And so he suggests that they avoid the guy as best they can. With this in mind, they keep moving forward, and by the time they get close to the zombie, the big guy has already moved to the side. This allows them to quietly walk past him, hoping that they do not get detected by him. Sadly, despite moving as silently as possible, the zombie somehow senses them. He probably perceives their scent and turns to face them. He still can't see them, but he definitely knows they're there, and so our boy begins to panic a bit. They're still hoping they can safely pass, but this hope is quickly dashed when the zombie turns to them with an ominous glint in his eyes. The moment Song sees this, he just curses in frustration, knowing that the sneaking game is over. The huge zombie charges at them, so Song tells his partner that they have no choice but to follow the same plan they used the last time. Thankfully, Seon knows exactly what he is talking about, so she understands what she needs to do. The lady gets out of the way while our guy stands his ground to face the first wave of attacks. The zombified sports star runs toward him, and he's instantly blown away by how fast the guy is. Still, he remains unfazed and braces himself for the clash. He points his weapon at the beast, but it doesn't slow down, and in a blink of an eye, the office worker finds himself standing face to face with the vicious zombie. The undead creature growls at him, so he stabs it in the chest with his wooden spear, and even though this isn't exactly going to do much damage, it's only a distraction to allow his partner to take over from there. With his spear buried in the zombie's chest, he gives Seon the signal, so she comes in swiftly to deliver the finishing blow. Before the zombie can even realize what's going on, she whacks him in the head with her golf club. She hit the zombie so hard that the metal stick practically snaps in two. The zombie yells in pain, but it's not enough to knock it out. By this time, the lady is beginning to panic because her only weapon just got broken in two, and all she has left is a short metal rod. Meanwhile, the zombie very quickly recovers from her hit and turns to her with a menacing look on his face. The zombie growls, and before either of them can think of their next move, the undead brute charges at the lady. The zombie shoves Seon with so much force that it almost sends her flying. As for our guy, he's just overwhelmed by the sheer strength that this monster possesses. He knew that it was strong, but he didn't think that it would be this powerful, so now, their chances of survival are looking really slim. Meanwhile, the zombie suddenly rips the stick out from his chest and goes after the girl. From the look on the zombie's face, it's clear that he's ready to rip her apart, but Sion Ai is also prepared to fight back. She decides to use the broken metal rod in that moment, and as the monster begins to move erratically, she takes the opportunity to stab the zombie in the back of the head. This time around, her strike packs a lot more sting and does enough damage to send the zombie falling headfirst. The force from the fall causes the zombie's skull to crack open, killing it in an instant. Once the threat is finally down, the both of them just stare at the corpse in relief, still finding it hard to believe what just happened. Sion still can't wrap her head around the zombie's insane physical power, and our guy is clearly feeling the same way. He can't believe that the monster was able to keep fighting even with the spear stuck in his shoulder. Thankfully, the fight is over now, and Sion Ai is obviously the happier of the two survivors. She stomps on the zombie's corpse to finish the job, while Song simply apologizes for not doing better during the fight. Of course, she doesn't blame him for not taking the monster out on his own, so she assures him that there was really nothing more he could have done. That aside, her major concern right now is figuring out how to handle the issue of their broken weapons. For starters, her golf club has been reduced into a small rod, so she considers attacking it to the wooden spear from before. As you can imagine, our guy feels that this is a great idea. The wooden spear's top is weared down already, but her metal stick is still pretty sharp. Together, he believes that they'll make up for each other's weaknesses and the piercing power will be even greater. That being said, she proceeds to start tinkering, and after a while, she reveals the new and improved weapon. Seeing this, our guy is pretty impressed, but he also reminds her that they can't be in one place for too long. They took a break while she was fixing the weapon, so now he feels it's time to get moving again, and Sion agrees with him. A couple hours later, we see that the two survivors are getting pretty tired again. They've been walking for a long while, and Sion Ai is starting to get a little frustrated because they've passed 5 whole train cars and didn't find a single useful thing in any of them. The whole thing is really killing their vibe, and Song is now very certain that someone else must have swept through the trains before them. As discouraging as it all seems, the lady still has high hopes. They can't stop moving even if they wanted to, so they just remain positive because they'll soon be at Sinseol Dong Station. Just as she says this, they both hear a loud bang erupt from the darkness ahead of them. It's clearly an explosion, but the MC can't even begin to imagine what could have caused it. All he knows for sure is that they shouldn't head that way. And so, without thinking too much about it, he grabs Sion Ai's hand and urges her to run the other way as fast as she can. The two run away from the explosion, and after a while, when it feels like they're safe, they stop to catch their breaths. They're both panting in exhaustion, and that's when Sion finally asks him what he thinks that was back there. But before she can even say another word, he tells her to be quiet. Currently, they're hiding in one of the abandoned train cars, and the last thing Song wants is for them to draw any attention to themselves. He looks out the window to check what's going on there, and he's instantly startled by what he sees. All of a sudden, there's a lot of noise outside, and after taking another look, Song confirms that there's something bad charging towards them. It turns out that there's a very ferocious horde of zombies heading their way, and just looking at it is overwhelming. Sion takes a look as well and immediately starts panicking, wondering if it's wiser to fight or run from the zombies. Of course, Song understands their current situation very well, so he knows that they can't take on that many zombies head-on, so he tells his partner to just hold on for the meantime. In a matter of seconds, the zombies are right behind the train, and then they slow down all of a sudden like they just sensed something. Our boy braces himself just in case they decide to attack, but then the zombies just run past the train once again. At this point, it looks like they're off the hook, but they can't be sure, so Song urges Sion to keep her guard up. As far as he's concerned, that wasn't the end back there. Sure, the first wave of zombies passed, and it looked like they were good for a while. But just as our guy suspected, there were a lot more zombies to come. They look out the window and see another horde heading toward them. The number of zombies is just overwhelming, and they're not even sure what to do at this point. Now, the office worker is torn between going toward the station and going back. At the station, there are at least dozens of zombies swarming there, and in the opposite direction, an explosion just occurred there. Even worse, it's a place they've never even been to before, so they don't even know what's lurking on that side. Our boy is seriously brainstorming, trying to figure out what the best decision would be, and that's when suggests that they consider just hiding. After all, she feels that this second wave of zombies will probably just pass them by like the first time, but our guy thinks that it's too risky. The last time, the zombies were in a frenzy, so they didn't have time to pick up their scents. However, that's not the case this time around because this second wave of zombies is moving a lot slower. Some of them are even crawling into the train already, so Song is afraid that they might actually smell them. At this point, the two survivors are forced to make up their minds with no time to think further. And then agrees to follow the MC's lead. And this just makes our guy even more nervous, because now it's all on him to make the right call. After a very brief mental debate, he decides that they go back the way they came. To him, it's better to go back now before the zombies spot them, and doesn't argue. She follows his lead as promised, and the two make their way out of the train before any of the zombies can pick up their scents properly. He has a plan in mind right now, and all they have to do is reach the next section without getting caught. The MC climbs off the tracks, and suddenly, it looks like they'll be able to shake the zombies off their tails. By this time, they notice that there aren't any undead close to them anymore. Our guy is quite relieved, feeling that they'll be fine as long as they are careful. Song believes that they can avoid the remaining zombies as long as they don't make a mistake. So he reaches down to help pull off the tracks as well, but that's when he realizes how slippery his palms are. Apparently, his sweat made it impossible to hold on to her, so she slips out of his grip and falls down onto the tracks. The poor girl suffers a heavy fall and lands directly on her back. She's probably in a lot of pain already, but that's not even their biggest problem at the moment. You see, the noise from her fall is so loud that it attracts the zombies lurking nearby. Just when they thought they were off the hook, they're right back in the running game. As you can imagine, the extremely sensitive creatures pinpoint the location where the noise came from and immediately start going there. Meanwhile, is still wincing in pain after that nasty fall. She doesn't even have enough time to recover before she realizes that she's about to be surrounded by the vicious brain eaters. She looks back and sees them charging towards her, which just leaves her frozen in shock. Thankfully, Song helps her snap out of the daze by calling out to her, urging her to get back up, and he gives her a hand. This time, she grabs a hold on his wrist over his sleeve, and he does the same, which allows him to pull her up from the tracks. The lady is finally so close to safety, but then suddenly, one of the zombies grabs a hold of her boot. Her eyes widen in horror when she feels the hand wrap around her ankle, but she thinks fast and immediately kicks the zombie off her. She frees herself very quickly, and as you can imagine, the rest of the zombies don't appreciate that. This just makes them even more annoyed, so they start attempting to climb up from the tracks as well. Now, it's clear that the pavement is no longer safe at all, so the two survivors take to their heels. Our guy leads the way, urging to run as fast as she can to keep up with him. He decides to go up the stairs, knowing how difficult it is for the zombies to climb, but to his surprise, a couple of these undead monsters already found their way up there. One of them tries to sneak up on him, but he sees the attack coming just in time. Still, the zombie is already flying at him, so there's very little he can do. All he can do is jump out of the way, but this just leaves exposed to the incoming attack. Luckily, this lady is also very capable of handling herself, and she proves this by taking out the zombie without a second thought. She drives her newly improved spear into the monster's body, killing it on the spot. Sure, they just took out one of the threats, but they still have to keep moving. They're relieved for sure because that was very close. Currently, they're hiding in a room, so it's pretty safe for a while. Song tells his partner to look out the glass window and check what the situation outside is like. Thankfully, things are looking better for them now because can't see any zombies nearby. She tells the office manager what she's seeing, and the moment Song hears it, he lets out a heavy sigh of relief. He's so glad that he can even say that they're still alive, because with what they've been through in the last couple minutes, it's a miracle that they survived. Our guy takes a moment to really soak in the fact that they aren't dead yet, but that's when he remembers what happened to Song a few moments ago. That fall she suffered was definitely a serious one for sure. But that's not even the big concern now, because a couple of seconds ago, one of the zombies grabbed a hold of her leg. Our guy has been in this apocalypse long enough to know that such an exposure could just turn into something much more problematic, and he surely hopes that it's not the case. So, he asks her about her leg, reminding her that she was grabbed by a zombie not too long ago. There's blood on her white winter boot, which is pretty shocking to her. Still, she desperately hopes that the blood stain was from the zombie's hand. Desperate to find out, she takes off her boot to check. She remembers the zombie brushing against her, which gets her pretty anxious. Of course, our guy can see that she's scared, so he offers to help her take a look and find out what their fate really is. San shows him her food after taking off her winter boots, and he immediately begins to inspect. Song looks really hard, and he does indeed find something. It's pretty clear that she got scratched by the zombie, and our guy is very relieved about this, because he knows how much of a problem it would have been if it was a bite mark he just found. Song tells her that it's nothing to be worried about, but it doesn't really calm her down. She's still hung up on the fact that the zombie got her with its claw, and the look on her face right now is that pure horror. Still, the MC assures her that she'll be fine, revealing that he also got scratched a little, but nothing happened. At this point, the girl desperately asks if he's sure of what he's saying, and once again, he assures her that she will be fine. Hearing this, she finally calms down, admitting that she thought it was already the end for her. This scratch mark that somehow resembles a snake bite appears to be swelling a bit, which is pretty normal, so R helps her attend the wound. Afterward, Seon admits that she feels a lot safer now that he's disinfected it, and Song is just grateful that they were able to find a first aid kit a while ago. Sadly, the box is pretty lacking, and it makes the MC conclude that the manager who handled it was very careless. There's no saline, no alcohol swabs, or even coagulants in the first aid box, but still, he admits that they're even lucky to have gotten their hands on it in this apocalypse. After all, he didn't even expect to find a lot when the other scavengers have taken almost everything of use. At the moment, it appears that the last group of scavengers to get here didn't exactly take everything. Sure, they took almost anything that can be considered food, but it still looks like they only skimmed through the place, so our guy is pretty positive. After cleaning A's wound for her, he tells her to just rest for a while, and then proceeds to continue his search. He rummages through all the stuff there, and it doesn't take too long for him to find something truly useful. It's literally a key, and even though he doesn't know what it opens yet, he's now very sure that there's still stuff for them here. Song is feeling very lucky now that he's got the key, because this means that he won't have to worry about where to sleep tonight. Now that he's gotten into the room, he's determined to find some valuable items, so he begins his search immediately. But even after poking around the room, nothing seems to come forth for him. This makes him even more eager to find something. He's sure that it's somewhere in the room, so he begins to retrace his steps. He feels that he might have rummaged through too quickly, so he slows down the second time around, carefully checking the place. Once he's more focused, it doesn't take too long for him to find the logbook, so he excitedly starts going through the pages, line by line, determined to find the information he needs. Sure enough, he comes across the line stating that the locker password was changed, so he takes the new password and rushes to open the locker. San sees him and expresses how shocked she is. She didn't realize that he knew what he was doing the whole time, but now, it's pretty obvious. She's so curious as to how he knew to look for the logbook, so that's when he turns to inform her that he actually used to work in the subway. It turns out that it was during his time here that he learned that they always jot down the safe codes in the logbook. Well, now that he's gotten into the locker, Seon is wondering if there's something special inside the safe. In response, Song admits that he doesn't know for sure. All he knows is that the safe is mostly just for keys used inside the station. However, the main thing he believes can be of use to them is still sitting in a box in the safe. So, he takes out the box and reveals the gun sitting inside. The MC explains that this is actually a gas gun, and he knows this because subway stations always keep firearms in storage. Still, the lady can't understand why something like that would be in a train station. So, Song explains that station staff need to be prepared in the case of a robbery or an attack because they collect cash every morning. He gives her the box to keep after explaining this, but she feels that he should be the one to hold on to it. Besides, she's never even touched a gun, so she doesn't think she would know how to use it when it matters the most. Our guy agrees with her and keeps the gun instead. Since she can't hold the gun, he informs her about the key he found earlier. She asks him what it's for, so he tells her that he thinks it is the key to the station staff room. The two rush over to the staff room to try the key, and they immediately beat the clock as the door opens. The two smile at each other in excitement before going inside, and the first thing our guy notices is the size of the place. It's about 16 to 20 square meters, which is even worse than the place where he worked before. While looking around, they're shocked to see a pale figure sitting in the corner. They're startled at first, but upon closer inspection, they confirm that the guy froze to death already. The guy doesn't look like he was infected. He probably died of starvation, so San proceeds to politely take his clothes off him. They get out all the blankets and pillows they can find, and for the first time in weeks, they can enjoy a good night's sleep. San is really liking this, so she suggests taking the blanket along even if they leave here. But Song isn't sure if they can move with that kind of weight. Well, she doesn't agree with him. She feels they can take the blanket since their food bags are almost empty anyway. At this point, they're finally on the same page, so the office worker agrees with her idea. The bed is surely very comfortable, and it's just a matter of time before they fall asleep. They've been running around all day, so Song encourages her to get some rest. Later that night, while our guy is keeping watch, he checks the floating shop for some items. The food they have left can only last for the next 2 days, so they have to get to the warehouse before then. At this rate, getting there shouldn't be a problem if nothing major happens. At the moment, he's got his eyes on some winter clothes that cost 3 coins. It's getting colder by the day, and even though being underground helps for the meantime, they'll still have to go back to the surface eventually. The situation underground is gradually getting worse too, and if things go wrong they'll need to cover more ground, so he's really considering the winter gear. Currently, he can afford sets for him and his partner, but he's not sure if spending that much on clothes is the wisest choice. After much deliberation, it looks like he is about to click the button, but he stops midway. He ultimately decides that they're fine for now, so he postpones this difficult choice he has to make. Still, there are a couple things he can't ignore much longer. There seems to be an update on the floating window which piques his curiosity. He taps on it and is instantly intrigued by what he sees. He feels that it could be a real game changer for them if he uses it right, so he explores it some more. The next morning, he wakes Sion up, and after much reluctance, she finally gets up to pack their stuff. She's still pretty sleepy the whole time, but our guy is absolutely ready to get moving. They make their way out of the station staff room back onto the tracks, and that's when they find something very shocking waiting for them there. A couple of train cars seem to have fallen off the tracks, blocking the way, and even though it might look like an accident, our guy is convinced that someone placed them there on purpose. Hearing this, Sion immediately volunteers to check if out, so she climbs the train from the side, but as soon as she reaches the top, the look on her face is instantly replaced with a horrified one. There's an actual sea of zombies behind the blockade, and they're definitely the most terrifying she's seen since this apocalypse started. There's so many that there's probably hundreds of them waiting there. At this point, our guy already knows that passing there is not an option, so he suggests trying the other side. The two take their flashlights and slowly make their way through the other route. The path with the swarm of zombies is the only subway line connecting to their destination, so Sion really doesn't know what they're going to do now. Our guy is also really stressed out by this option, but he has to make the call, and right now, the only option they have is to go up to the surface. Unfortunately, the wind up there is even more brutal now. Still, they can't hesitate because there's no telling when that sea of zombies will break through the blockade. Well, going up is just as risky because their sense will give them away for sure. That being said, Sion feels that they need to mask their sense somehow, but Song is not seeing the likelihood of that happening. I mean, it's not like they can take showers, so he suggests going back to check if they missed something out on the tracks. Once again, Son goes out to check, and he uses the opportunity to check the floating window again. He opens that new feature he discovered earlier. It's called Explorer, and it allows the purchase of hidden items not listed on the shop. If the item doesn't exist on the list, the scanner is not consumed, but if it does, the scanner is used up even if not purchased. Seeing this, our guy realizes that he'll be risking 1 coin just to use the Explorer. So now, the big question is if he's willing to take that gamble. That's it for this episode. Until next time.